that like button and the shares, just get those up. That would be great. Peach3, good morning. Hope you guys enjoyed Juneteenth. I learned a lot yesterday. You guys can hear me, right? All right. My mic is looking weird. I learned a ton yesterday. I was really, really happy with the decision we made to take the day off. And for those creators, specifically, I don't know if you guys saw, but I spent a lot of time listening to Dontrell yesterday. If you guys don't know Dontrell, phenomenal guy, but I learned really great. I enjoyed those events. Good morning, Felice.
Morning.
Mike worked first time.
It's gonna be a good day. Jinx.
This outfit you put together today is phenomenal.
Well, yeah, I can't. Just making sure we have the 10 Commandments up.
This live is
just in case anyone watching is from Louisiana. It's very important that we have a poster of the 10 Commandments on display in this classroom.
This is wild. So I'm making a TikTok about this too, and the exact same graphic. And I chose this one because I thought the 10 Commandments being in rainbow colors would piss off conservatives. That was the reason I chose that version.
Thanks, Sully. Good morning.
Is that why you did that too?
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's just very, I was an educator. I used to decorate classrooms. This is very, something I would put up in my classroom. So, yeah,
that's what I would do.
It's very important. Everyone, make sure you have the 10 Commandments on display at all times.
The thing about Louisiana that confuses me is, don't you think before they worry about the 10 Commandments, they should teach the people in that state to read? I mean, what's the point of having the 10 Commandments?
Oh my God, it's funny you say that. Yeah, I was listening to someone on CNN this morning talking about this. It was, I think is it an educator from the state, someone, and she was like, it's because the justification or what they're saying about it is like, here, I actually have the article up. This bill mandates the display of the 10 Commandments in every classroom. Oh, and this is the first article in the outline, so we can just put that in the Discord. This bill mandates the display of the 10 Commandments in every classroom, public, elementary, secondary, and post-education schools in the state of Louisiana. Because if you want to respect the rule of law, you've got to start from the original lawgiver, which was Moses.
Yeah,
I cannot. I cannot.
I want to be. It was a bush. Moses gets too much
Moses
credit.
Just got them. He didn't make them up. Yeah, it was. But I mean, this is where we're at, and but I thought it was interesting how they mentioned the rule of law. Right? Republicans don't respect the rule of law. If there was respect for the rule of law, they would hold Trump accountable. So what are you talking about? But back to what you were saying about where they're at, learning to read and stuff. Like the woman on CNN this morning was just like, he's talking about creating order, and that they're implying that having the 10 Commandments up is going to improve people's ability to learn. Yeah. And she's like, I don't know, we're 47th in education. We've been 47th in education. Like, something tells me putting a poster of the 10 Commandments up is not going to help us move up in testing scores.
Commandments. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, there's just the literal dimensions is mentioned in the bill of it's a giant poster. You can't put up an 8.5 by 11. Hold on.
Yeah, what were they again? I can't remember what they were.
Yeah. Let me. You keep talking. I'm gonna scroll because it's hilarious.
Well, the first thing I was gonna say is the TikTok that I'm making. It'll be an easy one to make. All 10 of these. We'll find video clips of Donald Trump breaking all 10, or at least advocating, especially number 6. Remember this immunity case that the Supreme Court's just
Donald Trump follows none of these. Yeah. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Is this a joke? Are these a joke for the Republican Party? The hypocrisy of this.
Maybe it's the shall not that is the problem. Maybe they don't understand what shall not is. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they thought it was shall. I get it. It's hard to read the way that the Bible was written. It's hard to read sometimes.
It's The religious law gives schools until January 1st, so by this until January 1st to display the 10 commandments, religious and ethical directives this is handed down to the prophet Moses in the Bible on quote, a poster or framed document that is at least 11 inches by 14 inches in every classroom. The commandments have to be the display's central focus, so you can't like print them really small in a corner of that paper and be printed in a large, easily readable font. Like, get me out of this. I know we need to stay and fight, but honestly,
It's
we can do
so
this show from South
stupid.
America. Actually,
This
they
is
do
so
this kind of stuff
stupid.
in South America.
This is like the embarrassing stuff. This is what, like, America isn't falling behind because we spend too much money. America's not falling behind because we're too accepting of the LGBTQ community. We're falling behind because when we have real problems, the solutions that conservatives come forth with are this. Like, hey, we got real problems. Like, what if we put up a sign in every room reminding people about our religious beliefs? Like, yeah, that fucking nailed it. Yeah.
That's literally what the governor, what Jim Landry is implying. Like he's saying, like crime rates in Louisiana, or all this. Even though crime is down, I think crime is down in Louisiana. But like he's
like
implying,
murderers
like
didn't know.
it starts in the classroom. If kids see the 10 commandments at a young age, then maybe the crime will go away. It's not poverty. The number
Yeah.
one driver of crime is lack of the 10 commandments being displayed in your face at public school every day.
Well, listen, Adam and Eve, they didn't have any money. They made it. Okay?
That,
We don't It's not about money.
that's
It's
true.
not about
That's
money.
true.
It's just like this is what sucks about this version of the GOP, and this is what sucks for anybody who's a GOP member that's here. First of all, welcome. It's good to have you. Second of all, would you mind talking to your leaders and asking them to do something that matters, like at all? Something that could fix anything? That would be terrific. Instead of just pushing like your Christian nationalism down our throats, that'd be great.
And yeah, and they were listing like all the people who are going to bring lawsuit. The ACLU is already like their lawsuits already pre-drawn up because they had heard of this like coming down the pipeline. And so they were saying, it's notable in this article, which by the way, I'm reading a Washington Post article on this. And one of the things that's mentioned is the last time this happened it was like 1980 in Kentucky, and it was struck down, but that was a very different Supreme Court to today. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens because Clarence Thomas, if they try to force this down our throats, this is against the Constitution, period.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, right. Like the separation between church and state, and more importantly, like I actually hate that we say separation. More importantly, like our country was founded that people could have whatever religious beliefs they wanted. Our founding fathers had a varying degree of religious beliefs. This is literally saying like only one religious belief can be part of the government. Just one. If you have other religious beliefs, if you're a Muslim,
Yeah.
if you're Buddhist,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Put the mats down. Let's make sure kids are doing the call to prayer. Let's face Mecca. However many, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're going to do this, then why aren't we having kids do the call to prayer in class? Like, they're basically saying that's the problem with Christian nationalism. It's not about religious freedom. It's about shoving one religion down everyone's throat.
Yeah, there's this fundamental misunderstanding, I think, by a lot of people on the right that think that like this version, this Christian nationalism was how we were founded and what kind of country we were. We weren't. In fact, I don't know that there's really been a time in our life when we've had this big of a push for religion to take like a central role. Like it used to, like religion used to have more of a central role, but it wasn't necessarily a push. It's just that like everybody was Christian. Like most of the people were Christian. And so it was a majority and it just kind of seeped in. But this is different because now Christianity is, I think it's close to under 50%. If it's not, it's getting there. Like it's a dying religion. In a lot of places it's a minority. And now it's being
it's
pushed.
definitely dying. It's dying in the United States particularly, And that's why it's so important and because the Republicans, there's no other thing to say than they're Christian. The Republican Party is Christian nationalist. Like, I mean, and people pretending to be Christian nationalists for, for their own personal gain.
Yeah.
So like that's where we're at now. And it's true. As more people in this country are educated, religion is decline, religious belief, particularly in Christianity, is massively declining. Like I say this all the time because Dr. Richard Wolff, my God, says it. But
I thought Philip Kowski was your god, but it's
my
Wolff.
Marxist God.
Right.
No, I mean, like, yeah. But the only thing that spread faster than Christianity across the world was Marxism, right? And that's Marxism is. I mean, Jesus was a socialist, was a Marxist. I mean, that's essentially like what it was about, but that's not what they've bastardized it into. And education, right? Being deprogrammed, going to college and getting deprogrammed, learning how to think critically and ask questions is the enemy of everything the Republican Party stands for.
Well, and that's the argument, right? That people are being programmed and brainwashed in schools. This is typical for cults. Like, people think that when you're in a cult, anything outside of that would be brainwashing.
I thought you said cold.
Right?
I was cold. I can't wait for you to make this connection.
Dave, I see on the spelling. I'm just gonna be honest. I did spell it correctly the first time. I just didn't spell check the second time. My mother would agree with you. She would be fuming right now if she saw that I wrote Chord without an H. So I agree with you, but I can't change it now. So everybody has to deal with the fact that Chord is spelled incorrectly.
You know that, like, when I worked in advertising, that's like one of the actual planned advertising and internet marketing strategies is to misspell something because it annoys people to the point where they pay more attention and they will interact with a post. Like, it's purposeful misspellings is a marketing and advertising strategy on the internet. But
you'll see it all the time in big channels, like especially on captions, subtitles. They'll purposely get things wrong because then you stay on that and then you keep watching the video. And they don't really care why you watch the video, right? As long as you stay there.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Time spent on page is one of the biggest measures of successful advertising campaigns. However you get them to not click away. Sorry, I distracted you from whatever the point. What were we talking about? Are we done with the 10 Commandments? I'm going to take them down because I'm going to put up my other background.
Yeah, we're
I think
done with that.
I've made my point. Well, I'll put them up. I can put them up periodically just so we're following Louisiana's new laws.
We want everybody that's
sure.
here. I keep saying anybody that's here from Louisiana as if Louisiana has internet.
Isn't Cat Mama from Louisiana?
Yeah, but I think she's close enough to another state that like she can get Wi-Fi, I think, from them. But I'm pretty sure Louisiana doesn't have internet yet. I'll have to double check.
Laura.
Check.
Yeah, you guys, I couldn't make it through this. This is summer knits, right? Just saying. Sorry, someone was saying my outfit is cute. I couldn't go through the whole summer without having a matching summer knit outfit.
Let's move on from the 10 Commandments. Let's jump right into it, guys. As you're rolling in, please continue to share and like this. Share it with your Republican friends. We'd love to talk to some Republicans today. Above Felice's head, the Cash App and the Venmo. We rely on the generosity of our viewers to fund us so we can keep doing this. So if you do have the means to do that, that would be great. Also, we're live streaming on YouTube at the same time. So head on over there. You're going to want to be subscribed to the YouTube or at least be aware of it. Next week, we will be watching the debate. And on TikTok, it's hard to stream the debate. One, sometimes it gets taken down, but two, like the audio is not great. So we'll be streaming live on YouTube and we will simulcast it to TikTok here. So you'll see like the simulcast on TikTok here, but just make sure you're following our YouTube for our debate party next week, which is if it happens.
This is, I am getting hyped up for this debate because, I've been reading different authors and listening. It was Van Jones this morning I was listening to. And, they have that one guy on CNN. I'm sure if you ever listen to CNN, it's this bald guy. Whenever they want, someone to argue Trump's side, they bring in this guy.
His name?
Oh my God, he's so annoying. I just can't even do it. He's the most annoying person on television. But it's just the one Trump spokesperson who they let on. Yeah. So Van Jones was like, they were talking about the debate this morning, and I think it is. You're exactly right. It is super important, like to acknowledge how important this will be, right? Like, if the polls are correct, Trump has a lot of momentum, right? And especially around, and we'll get into this, like the debunking of the cheap Biden cheap fake stuff
Yeah.
later, but like the all of that, right? This is going to be his sort of chance to on live TV make a stand, talk about the issues, and maybe not talk about the issues. Like, does Biden mention Trump's felony? If so, does Trump come back and talk about Hunter Biden's conviction? Like, what is this really going to look like? It's all very interesting. This will be probably like one of a kind, but we're never going to see something like this.
Yeah, and I
Well, I
don't know
mean,
if it's going to
hopefully,
happen. I
hopefully, we'll never see something like this again.
The thing is I actually, truthfully, I wouldn't fault either party for not debating. I want them to
I
debate.
think Trump's setting it up so doesn't have to already.
Yeah, he very well might be, or he's setting it up to
That
be
when
able
he
to explain
loses,
why his performance was so bad,
yeah,
right? He'd be
he
like, "Oh, Biden was on
exactly.
drugs." Yeah, yeah,
He had well, Hannity is his mouthpiece. Hannity says nothing unless Trump wants him to. And Hannity
yeah.
started a couple weeks ago saying these little things like, "Oh, I wouldn't blame Trump if he didn't even show up," or then it turned into like, "Oh, well, Biden's going to be on performance enhancing illicit substances. So even if he does win, it's not fair." Like
You know what
Ronnie
Oh,
Johnson,
yeah.
Ronnie Johnson went on TV yesterday and was like, I'm talking about Ronnie Jackson, but Trump doesn't know his name. So, and called him Ronnie
I keep calling
Johnson.
him Ronnie Johnson now,
I
honestly,
know
like
people
by
think I
mistake.
don't know what his name is. His name's Captain. Well, he actually is a captain. We should call him Admiral Ronnie Johnson because what's wrong with it. But yeah, he went on TV and he's like, Biden's gonna be hilarious on Provigil and Adderall, which is so ironic for him to say because those are the exact substances he was putting in little baggies in the White House pill mill scandal. Like everything the Republicans do say about like the left is them confessing to their own crimes. Like,
Well, yeah. So the other problem with that, based on, and not a doctor, take this with a grain of salt. This is just based on what I've heard on the internet from doctors, is that Adderall, if what they're saying about Biden is true, if this cognitive decline is due to something like dementia,
yeah, it
Adderall
doesn't
and
help.
Provigil do not help. In
Of
fact, they make
course
it
not.
worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
none of this is based in science. Like, I mean, it's ludicrous, but that's the problem. Like, no one on the right thinks. Like, if you can think critically, then you can see through this. And I'm not saying they're not capable of thinking, but whether it's because they're in the haze of a cult or whether it's because they don't want to think it through. Well, whatever the reasons are, like that's the situation.
It
Oh, I
feels
want
like
to.
we're it feels like we're all saying the same thing over and like I get tired of saying the same thing. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do about this. I don't know how you talk to MAGA about some of these obvious things. Like obviously they're tattling on themselves. Like drugs were a big problem in the Trump White, or not even a big problem. Whatever you think about what they were taking, they were used a lot in the Trump administration. And frankly, I use some of those stimulants for my own ADHD. So it's not like I'm against them. But the problem I keep running into is that what Trump is good at is putting his opponents on the defensive, and he's good at doing that by basically tattling on himself, by setting up these scenarios where he accuses people of stuff that he knows he's either going to be accused of or he has been accused of, and he muddies those waters, and we spend all our time having to. I was thinking about this morning, like somebody's going to come up at some point and be like, oh, well, Biden's just going to be on these performance enhancing drugs. And we'll say, well, what about Ronnie Jackson? And in their mind, they're like, oh, they're just playing whataboutism. They don't want to actually discuss these things. What they're talking about is a conspiracy theory with no evidence. What we're talking about is something that absolutely happened,
Was
right?
adjudicated in military, like in whatever the justice. I can't remember what you call the military justice system in the Navy, but yeah, he was demoted from admiral to captain because of his White House pill mill
Yeah.
scheme, which, by the way, and in fairness, it started in Obama's administration, I believe I read. Like,
Yeah.
because he was
It's
the doc, right? He was Obama's, like, I think it started like way back when Ronnie was doing this a long time.
yeah. The point was is like we just it's difficult to figure out a way to start positioning this differently and having this conversation differently so that we're not always on the back foot. And I think that's what's important about today's outline, and going forward towards the election. Felice and I have talked about this. Like, instead of being reactionary, we've got to be on the left. We've got to be the ones who drag these accusations to the forefront. We've got to start having those conversations more openly and with more knowledge. Like, we have to have receipts for all of this stuff. The thing that MAGA, I think where MAGA feels comfortable is that they're always putting liberals on the defensive, and then that opens up in their mind, like I said before, that they get to say this is just whataboutism. But again, their story isn't true. Ours is. And so they'll leave, at the very least, they leave going, ah, well, both sides are doing it. But it's not true. Both sides are not doing this. It's just that their side will lie to you and tell you that the other side is doing literally exactly what they're doing. We see it with mail-in voting right now. Every Trump surrogate out there is just saying like, oh, we got to mail in vote early, vote however you can. And yet Donald Trump is telling us about the dangers of mail in voting forever, right? This is how people cheat with mail in voting. My question is, Republicans have said that they were cheated, and Republicans have also said we have to play the Democrats' game to win.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Republicans are planning on cheating the mail-in ballots? You don't think
they're
trying to figure out ways around this?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, first of all, it's hilarious. Again, it's hard to communicate with people on the right because either they choose not to think, they are in cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if they care about the facts. Like, we've all listened to 4 years or however long it's been now, 5 years of Trump saying, oh, mail-in ballots are awful, like and the machines and paper ballots. And now he's done a complete pivot to, oh yeah, mail-in ballots to everyone. All I hear Trump say now is use mail-in ballots. Like, it's just, there's no end to the lies. Like, oh, and I wanted to just say, if anyone wants, for debate purposes, an article about Ronnie Jackson being demoted because of the White House pill mill scheme, there's a good one in the Texas Tribune. Navy demoted Ronnie Jackson after probe into White House behavior. It says Trump's former physician and GOP ally is now a retired captain, not an admiral. So I'll put this in the Discord.
Some would say the Candyman can't. That's not bad, right?
Oh, a little Willy Wonka reference.
Thank you.
I got it. I bet you can sing the song too.
Yeah, Ronnie Johnson. Sorry, we keep calling him Ronnie Jackson. We forget that he has changed his name.
Sorry. It is Ronnie Johnson.
Trump
changed his name.
MAGA's the kind of group that would like, and they're all such sycophants that they're the kind of people that like would maybe change their name. Like Ronnie Jackson, be like, fuck, I guess I'm Ronnie Johnson now, and just go change his name. That's how loyal they are to Trump.
He literally would. And by the way, like, absolutely. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and like, if you want to talk about who's on Provigil, when Trump's like, that's somebody on a stimulant.
What is Provigil? Is that for ADHD as well?
No, it's not for ADHD. Provigil. That's why Ronnie Jackson is in so much trouble. And first of all, I just want to say, like, why Ronnie Jackson is in trouble is he was making, like, in the White House pill mill scheme, it was basically when they were all, Trump and his team, or let's say getting ready to go to Europe for like the G7 summit or whatever the case may be, Ronnie Jackson would make little bags of pills.
Right.
And
with like Ambien,
they had like Adderall,
yeah.
Provigil. Provigil is what they give to Air Force pilots, like when G-force hits them, to keep them conscious. Like, it's an extreme stimulant.
Is that an
like
amphetamine?
Depending on the dosage.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Amphetamine? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, that's why I'm saying the sniffing, like you are. It's meant. Yeah.
That's right.
So,
it's the greenies. We talked about that before, huh? Those are what they call greenies.
Yeah, so
Okay.
very unlawful. But and he was doing this, making these pill bags, not prescribing them to people. No one had a prescription. He was just handing them out to like staffers and stuff and being like, "Here you go." Like, and that's why he's not a rear admiral anymore and he was demoted.
This is interesting. Jen just sent this to me. This just came out. Uh, just like the strategy in me, I think this is maybe the sports fan in me. From CNN, former President Donald Trump will get the final word when he debates President Biden next week after a coin flip to determine podium placement and the order of closing statements. The coin landed on Biden campaign's pick, tails, which meant his campaign got to choose whether it wanted to select the president's podium position or the order of closing statements. Biden's campaign chose to select the right podium position, which means the Democratic president will be on the right side of television's viewer screens, and his Republican rival will be on the viewer's left. That's brilliant. You absolutely should give the Trump the last word, because it will either be a personal attack or it will make no sense. Trump will not miss an
Trump doesn't make
opportunity.
any sense.
Yeah, he will not miss an opportunity to be petty on his way out. That's a really good move.
That's the interesting, like that's why this debate is so important. Like you can flood the airways with shit, you can doctor or clip and make like these moments like I'll show you guys the Biden cheap fake, like, right, they did a great side by side on CNN. Caitlin Collins did, and shows it, you know, like they tried to make it look like someone was parachuting in and Biden's just like looking off. No, there were other people parachuting in behind him and he turned
Yeah.
around and was talking to them. But of course, like Fox doesn't show the wider angle to see, oh, not only was someone parachuting in front of him, but there were multiple people parachuting in behind him, and Biden turned around to talk to them. Like,
You know,
and they can do that. Well, let me just, this is,
yeah, yeah.
will be like 5 seconds. They can make it look like Biden has dementia all they want, but like on that stage a week from today, on the 27th, which again we will be streaming, there will be Biden and there will be Trump. And as someone who's not missed a Trump speech or Trump rally since he started giving speeches, Biden or Trump is not all there. Like we're gonna see
No.
who, like between the two of them. If I know, I watch every single speech these two give. Trump is not all there, and there's nothing to protect him. Like there's no lies, there's no like clipping things, there's no, oh, but what about Biden? Look over there. Like he better pray because he can't even read teleprompters anymore.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that's frustrating about like these fakes is like the Fox knows what they're doing, and they're leaving just enough in. Like the clip that they showed with Biden and the parachuters, they didn't crop out the parachuter. They just cropped it enough so he was barely visible in the bottom corner. So they could say like, "Oh, it's still." And even when I saw Fox's video, it was, to me it was obvious that what was going on. It was so obvious that Joe Biden was talking to somebody and
Here,
waving to
let's show
somebody.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
As
do
long
that.
as we're here, hold on. Yeah, keep talking. I'm gonna add my backup.
Boxer Mom, I can't remember. I see Boxer Mom 2X. I don't remember if you're opposition or not. If you are, will you let Jen know? She said, Jen said she hasn't answered yet. J Man, I saw you there too. I guess you're not in the box anymore. We'll get there in just a second though. You guys probably, you guys all in the chat probably know what we're talking about, right? With this video from France. I mean, I think I talked about it when Felice was gone. It was like a week ago, but it was so obvious that it was like what was going on. That's the part of me that like I've been thinking over and over, like, how do we reach MAGA? This is the kind of stuff that I'm like I'm legitimately at a loss. This feels like my true believing Mormon friends. Like no matter what reality you place in front of them, they will believe everything but their eyes. And this one was so obvious to me that when I saw how many like legitimate prominent right-wing accounts were talking about this, I was like, all right, now what do we do? Like, where do we even go from here?
That's something else I'll show you in a second. That's just absolutely ludicrous. Hold on 1 second.
While she's pulling that, J-Man, if you're still here, feel free to come back in a little bit. We're going to cover a couple stories. Feel free to come back. I had a good chat with J-Man on, was Was it Tuesday, Wednesday? What day was that? Tuesday. That was the last time we talked, right?
I don't think I know who that is. I don't think it was when I was here.
Oh, it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. That's right.
Yeah,
Friday.
I was like, I'm not sure who that is. Oh, I need to change my background. Sorry.
Make sure to drink your water, take your meds, eat something. Thanks, Em.
Okay. Pretty sure this is it. And I'll find where it is on the out. It's under, there's a section in the outline for this. Is there no section? Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure most people have seen it.
It's
fine. Yeah.
There he is. Where's he going?
But look at look at the right part of the thing. There are three guys standing to the right when they fan the thing out there.
Right, so
really?
He's the only one wandering.
Look at that guy right there. Look at the guy.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
It was a pretty misleading video because what you're seeing here on the left is the New York Post edit, that version. That's all people could see. It zoomed in. It was claiming that Biden appears to be wandering off. But when you actually zoom out, like you do here on the right,
on the bottom,
see the full picture from the unedited.
There's like 5 guys behind him.
Where very clearly he was talking to skydivers who were just out of frame as he was standing next to the world leaders. You can see them there at the bottom. And I mean, so that one was very obviously misleading.
Yeah, that one was deceptively edited, right? To show Biden and make it appear, again, as if he's just wandering.
Staring off into the distance.
Has no idea what he's doing. But that is literally what you hear in right-wing media.
What do they think? He's giving a thumbs up to a fucking tree?
So, like, just to be clear, there's 5 people, right? This is to commemorate, like, paratroopers during D-Day, and you don't decide where you land. Some people landed in front of them, and many more people landed behind, and Biden turned around to acknowledge them, as any kind, thoughtful person would do. And now we have this whole lie made up by the right, which they do believe. Like, people truly believe that he's like wandering around over a camera angle, dishonest camera angle.
One of the things that's always been true about Joe Biden is that Joe Biden is a people person, that Joe Biden loves to talk with everybody. And so it looks different now as he's older because he moves to people a little more slowly, but he's always been this way. He's not somebody that is really super interested in standing there and just looking important. Like, he does like to talk to people. So this one, it was just so obvious from the completely edited one by the New York Post. And it just goes to show you that even they know they can put out things that are obvious, and whatever they write in the caption, as long as it's anti-Biden, the people will believe it. And this will be a pattern that we'll cover today, but like we're at that place where everything is a lie. Everything these people say is an actual lie. Nothing they say is true.
It's not misinformation. Yeah. It's just flat out lies.
Exactly.
We're just disinformation. Yeah. And by the way, so this is the section fact check on Biden cheap fakes, and that was starting at the bottom. That's 5. Because I have another one that I wanted to, because the new one, this week's lie, continued lie from Fox News and from the right, is about Biden forgetting, allegedly, which it's a lie, he forgot Mayorkas's name. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. And again, let's not talk about names, Ronnie Johnson. Let's not.
So, yeah. Well, and this is exactly, Trump literally can't remember anyone's name, but this is Acyn did this, ACYN on Twitter. He's one of the editors for Midas Touch, and this is 2 clips, right? So here, let's just see if we can. Where is my? Oh, I remember what this is. No, I just wanted to show the Chiron. That's what. Oh yeah, sorry. So this is unedited video refutes White House claim of alteration. And then look at this. I'll show you.
We don't have cheap fakes. We have the facts. And it is such an insult to voters to say You cannot trust your own eyes. You can't trust your senses because they are being presented with the truth.
Well, he is sequestered at Camp David. Who knows what's going on? I gotta believe there's at least a Red Bull, but who knows? Coming up.
Yeah, he's sequestered at Camp David. Oh, I don't know where the.
Wait, it's always the like. It's never he's at Camp David. He's working from Camp David. He's vacationing at Camp David. Like everything Biden does is just this conspiracy that there's all these people controlling him or hiding him from the public. This is a very public president.
That's where he's practicing for the debate.
Yeah.
By the way, like that's
standard.
what they're talking
that
about. It's debate prep.
And sitting presidents, like I'm pretty sure. I know Obama went to Camp David, but I'm pretty sure Trump did too when he was prepping for a debate. Somebody fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's also what Trump did.
Yeah, I mean that's where sitting presidents typically go. Here we go. Okay, this is the clip I was talking about. Here we go.
Here at the White House yesterday, President Biden appeared to forget the name of his own DHS chief.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure going to do show away. But all kidding aside.
President Biden was in Rehoboth Beach.
I'm not sure going to do show away. But all kidding aside, Secretary Mayorkas, as well as
here at the White House.
So do you see those are two examples? That's how Fox News covered it, the first one, right?
Yeah,
and
they
the
cut it
second
off right
one
before he said it.
Yeah, like he's joking around, being like, "Oh, I'm Joe Biden's husband," and then like pretending he doesn't know Mike's name, then says it. But Fox News cuts it off, like he never said it.
Yeah,
like,
one of the things that when I was listening to some medical experts is that what Joe Biden does is that Joe Biden oftentimes will lose the word, or he'll stumble to get the word, but he finds himself, right? He finds the word, he gets back on track. The difference is Donald Trump does this thing where he glitches and he'll say, and then he moves on. Like he doesn't correct himself. And they were saying that's actually more of a sign of cognitive decline, because human nature is to correct yourself, right? When you misspeak, it's a little bit embarrassing for all of it. Nobody wants to misspeak. It's embarrassing. We correct it. We either apologize or lash out if we're emotional, but not Trump. And they're saying that, like, if you go back and you look at old videos of Trump, if he did stumble on his words, he would fix them. And the fact that he's not going back and fixing them is the part that is making these experts more alarmed than the stuff that's happening with Biden. Like, cognitive decline is real. That happens to everybody. Bad days are real. That happens to everybody. But it's like the lack of humanity in Trump's responses that make them more concerned.
No, and the other problem we have is the lack of just general intelligence and knowledge. Like it's just apparently no one in this country understands how memory works. I suggest everyone really get into neurology and look into how memory works. Like our brains are always filling in gaps in our memory, no matter how old we are. Our memory is based on past experience.
What's up, J-Man? Have you met Felice before?
No, I haven't met Felice.
This is Felice.
No, what's up?
She's usually co-hosting with me.
Okay.
What's up?
What's up? So I did my homework on Trump.
All right.
I came with the facts.
All right, I'm ready.
There's no cap. All right. And all right. So under Trump, rates in 2017 to 2019, the GDP averaged 2.5% unemployment.
GDP and unemployment are
gross
different.
domestic those are two different
GDP
things.
is gross domestic product, and unemployment is the people that have jobs. So those are two different things.
Well, the GDP growth averaged 2.5%, and unemployment reached a low of 3.5%.
Correct. Did you know that since then Joe Biden has had lower unemployment numbers? It was true that those were historic lows, but Joe Biden's numbers are lower.
The GDP was 5.7% in 2021.
Yeah, that was
That's
actually
how we
the
get up.
only year during Trump's presidency where we didn't see a GDP growth decline. So prior to Trump coming in, GDP was growing, but at higher rates. When Trump came into office, and specifically like after the tax cuts, we started seeing a decline in GDP. 2021 was one of the only times we saw a big increase, but that was because 2020 was such a mess, right? Like we had
Uh-huh.
COVID and we were kind of starting to come back on board, so we saw an increase. But yeah, Trump didn't do great on GDP.
Well,
Biden's doing better than Trump on GDP.
well, in 2023, it was 3.6.
Yeah, that's higher than almost every year of the Trump administration.
Nah, Trump averaged 2.5%.
Didn't you just say 3.6?
Nah, no, no,
Well,
no,
that
no.
was he's saying 1 year, and then he's talking about I
No,
think
no.
the
Under
average during
Biden,
his
under
presidency.
Biden is 3 point. It was 3.6 in 2023. The
Yeah,
GDP growth averaged 2.5% from 2017 to 2019.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. 3.6 is higher than 2.5.
Yeah,
So Biden's better. The higher number is better in GDP. Is that where we're having confusion? With
yeah. I think
GDP,
that's.
you want a higher number. With
Yeah, I think that's
unemployment,
where
you
we
want a
have the
low.
confusion. That's where we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
confusion.
So GDP is your gross domestic product, basically what the United States produces. So GDP is going to show us like, are we economically, are we producing a surplus? Like, do we send out uh, I don't know how to explain that
Oh yeah,
in
no,
like
no.
the
You
most
start.
It's
simple
Nah,
way.
all our
you got
it's
that.
all our businesses, all the businesses in the United States. Like,
All
what
right,
are we? How much are we? That's why we're number one.
all right.
We're producing the most products.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
not
okay.
producing the most
RTP,
products. That's the
you
right
won
wrong way
that
to
one.
say it. Ours are worth the most
Yeah,
money.
you won that one. You won that. All right, so now I got the tax cuts.
Yeah.
All right, but you won that last one most definitely. You won that last one most definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So did you say you wanted to go to tax cuts now?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
All
I'm
right, let's
about to.
talk about it.
All right.
So we're talking about the TCJA, which was the Tax Cuts and Job Acts of 2017, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You already know. You already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
From 35% to 21%.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate tax rates.
Yeah. And what happened to the what happened to the wealth gap when we cut taxes? Did it get better or worse?
I think it got worse.
Worse. Yeah. This is what we talked about last time. Like
Yeah.
the fact is, middle class Americans, the everyday Americans, paying a higher rate than corporations, and corporations also have an expansive list of loopholes. Like the rate is 21%, but the effective rate, meaning what they really pay. So like 21% is what you pay before any loopholes. The effective rate is once you apply loopholes. A lot of these corporations are like 2 or 3% is what they wind up paying effectively. So that's just less tax revenue. They get to keep that money. They're not trickling that money down to their employees. They're just hoarding it. I saw today that I don't remember which company it was. Somebody could help me, but a CEO is losing their job and they're getting $30 million to leave. Corporations during COVID, when we had stock decreases, these corporations used their profits to do stock buybacks, meaning they
The
went on
Boeing CEO is making 33 million. I think came
That might be
out
the
this
one.
week in a congressional hearing. I think he's making 33 million. Yeah, and then the planes
Yeah.
aren't doing well.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? It was 800 million. Now I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you talk about the Boeing CEO. He did 33 million for that. Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember what I was. Oh yeah. It was $800 billion in stock buybacks that corporations made. So essentially, what that means is they bought the stock low. They bought the stocks back for either themselves or their investors, knowing that the prices were going to go up. And then what they did is they increased pricing and they cut expenses, they cut overhead. So they moved workers to part-time. A lot of layoffs happened. Moving people to at home saved some corporations a bunch of money, and they didn't trickle that money down. They kept all that money for themselves. They used all their profits to buy their stock backs, and that's why we're seeing record profits now with these companies and record numbers in the stock market. They've just manipulated the system, and they have so much money now that they can manipulate the system. We no longer live in like a free market capitalist society. We don't. We live in an oligarchy where there's a handful of people that basically can control and manipulate the stock market. And some of us, maybe we'll be able to follow along and we'll make some money too. But they're the ones that get most of the benefit.
You think so? You think they can manipulate the stock? About who? Who do you think can do that?
Yeah,
who
so
you think got the power to do that?
Yeah, so like for example, let's say it's Walmart, right? Let's say Walmart revenue is kind of slipping or it's stagnant.
Okay.
So what Walmart will do in order to increase their stock price, what you need to show is more revenue, right? Okay, so they're going to go in and they're going to lay people off. They're going to cut expenses to grow their revenue because you can't really force customers to come in and buy more stuff at those prices. So they go in and they either cut benefits or they cut employees or they lower wages, and then their revenues go up because their cost is less. At the same time, they go in and they buy all their own stock, knowing their stock is at a low point. They buy all this stock, then they cut the wages, the stock price goes up, and they all just made a bunch of money. So by firing people, they make money. By people losing their income, the investors and the C-level executives and the owners all make millions and billions of dollars. And that's the problem with our system is once you get now that we're at that level, none of these people are incentivized to take care of their workers. None of them are incentivized to pay more, to give better benefits. In fact, it's the opposite. They're incentivized to pay the workers the least amount they possibly can to keep those workers. And when shit goes bad, when their stock price just dips, which truthfully, if you work at Walmart and the stock price dips, that doesn't really affect you. It really doesn't. And it doesn't really affect Walmart that much. But they rely so much on public investors that those investors, when they start fleeing, it can be catastrophic. So it's like this game outside of our economy now. It's essentially gambling that's happening outside of our economy, and we've built our economy around this game, and then we allowed the game to get rigged. And now Trump is out there saying, "Hey, all of you guys who rigged this game, give me $1 billion and I'll let you rig it even more. I'll cut regulations. I'll cut your taxes. More of this." It's honestly moronic.
And this is something I wrote down. Biden's approach focuses on increasing taxes on corporations and the wealthy to fund infrastructure and social programs, which some argue could stifle economic growth and investment.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to pay for it, right?
You think that's the best way?
How else would you pay for it? Look, we have a spending problem. We don't bring in as much money as we put out. We have two options. We can cut spending, or we can increase taxes, or we can do both. I guess there's three options. But yeah, no matter what, we're not going to be able to cut enough spending probably where our tax rates are now. We're in the hole. We've got to play catch up. We've got to raise our tax rates. We have to. Otherwise, this spiral continues.
And don't feel sorry for corporations. They'll be fine. We have the #1 gross domestic product like in the world. Also, we are the marketplace, like the premier worldwide marketplace. Like people have to bring their goods to market here. There's no other choice. Like how do you cut the United States out of business? Like I would argue that's almost impossible. The United States has shaped the worldwide economy in such a way and the value, and the value of currency and we are the military for so many countries. Like how do you cut us out of the marketplace? That's going to be a hard thing for a corporation to do. And
no, that's definitely right.
We also just need to close the tax loopholes, right? Like, so people are paying the corporate tax rate, not, like he's talking about the difference between effective tax rate and corporate tax rate. Well, we're at 21%, but when it's all said and done, we have people paying 8%. Well, that can't be possible.
No, yeah, Felice. No, I like what you said when you said, don't worry about the other corporations. Hell yeah, you right. That's right.
They'll be good. They'll be good.
Hell yeah, corporations will be right.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, y'all right about that. I ain't gonna lie, y'all right. So the trade. I want to talk about trade policies.
Okay.
When Trump, what about Trump
I'm excited. I've wanted
renegotiating
to talk about
NAFTA?
this for a while.
Trump renegotiated NAFTA into the United States.
Yeah, I probably need to refresh myself on that, but just like NAFTA, the NAFTA deal that he renegotiated, he really didn't do much that was that different. It's almost the
renewed
same
it.
deal.
He like renewed it essentially.
Yeah, he just called it something different.
But it aimed to protect American jobs, though.
Yeah, look, I think Trump says a lot of stuff like that, like I'm here to protect American jobs, but like if you go look at his record, he didn't protect American manufacturing jobs. He didn't do it. He said that there was no way Harley Davidson would leave. They left. He had that big Foxconn project where he's going to bring in all these manufacturing jobs.
I was just going to say, he had a Trump rally right next to where the Foxconn mess happened like a couple of days ago and tried to gaslight them again and be like, we're bringing back jobs. It's like, you said that last time.
He said it was going to be the 8th wonder of the world, which was stupid. But yeah, and then it never happened. They dug a hole and that's it. And now that's being taken over by, now I can't remember who it was. It Micron? I can't remember who's moving into that space now, but
it's Microsoft. Is it Microsoft? Or
it might be. I wanted to say Micron, but Micron might be the chips.
I'll look it up.
I think it's Micron. But either way, now on that exact spot under the Biden administration, because of the Chips and Science Act, it is Microsoft. Thank you. We are going to have.
I was right.
We're actually going to have manufacturing jobs there. The thing that we have to do, the thing that we have to be aware of, and I think that sometimes we get stuck, and conservatives specifically get stuck. The reason like manufacturing and industrialization, the reason we were so good at that, the reason that helped build our country is because we were first. Right? We were the first, and we invested heavily. Our government subsidized the shit out of that. And we got to the place where we were the powerhouse. Well, we no longer are going to be the powerhouse with manufacturing. Just the world economy is what it is. Price-wise, we can't keep up. So now we're moving on. Where do we move on? What's the future? Chips, those are the future, certainly. EV, electric vehicles, that's the future. Renewable energy, that's the future. Yeah. All the things that Republicans get mad at us for wanting to do because they're like, oh, it's not ready yet. Yeah, that's the point. If we only invest in things once they're ready, we'll always be mediocre. We'll never be ahead of the game. Joe Biden's administration is trying to put us ahead of the game, and Republicans are standing in the way all the time. Like in Utah right now, this is crazy. I don't know if you heard this, Felice. In Utah, they have a coal plant. And that coal plant isn't making any money. And they blame the regulations, but the truth is, like, who the fuck uses coal? Nobody. So Utah, a conservative state now, is going to take over the coal mine. The state's going to own it. They're going to do socialism with the coal mine, but they still can't even figure out how they're going to turn a profit. So conservatives are trying to conserve coal mining, which will lose the taxpayers' money, which eventually will go away, and then they like scoff at renewable energy. It's just that I think it comes down to people being afraid of change.
Well, I did so much reading into this. I'm so glad we're talking about this because it's so interesting. Yeah, it's about like what's good during election time, right? Like you can't close a coal mine, right? We've moved on from coal, but because of who the Republican audience is, right? They're gonna keep a non-profitable coal mine going, just to make it look good. Or look what the Biden subsidies around steel, like those come during election time, and it really is about, it's less about what's profitable or good for the American consumer necessarily, but what's good during election time. And there's a larger, I think it was Dusty Skates. If you're here, Dusty, I still remember that question you asked when Biden put all these tariffs on electric vehicles and things like that, and you said that's not good for the American consumer or for the proliferation of renewable energy. Why is he doing this? And it starts with sort of Trump did the same thing, right? And we're seeing high tariffs all around the world having to do with electric vehicles. And why is that? I read like hundreds of pages about this, and this has to go, it actually goes into like the CIA and our military, and this belief that the United States missed the boat on 5G and around a lot of technological things. And there's this whole plan, like detailed plan that involves the military, involves our intelligence agencies, and it involves our economic strategy to essentially cut China out. Because what China is doing around the world is flooding markets with cheap products. Like, I'm specifically talking about electric vehicles and semiconductors, things of that nature. And so cheap, right? It's doing what Walmart does to mom and pop stores, right? Floods markets with prices that nobody can match in order to try to put other places out of business. Like, for instance, the American electric vehicle industry, right? They're trying to put the American electric vehicle industry out of business. And so the goal with all of these tariffs is essentially to stop China, because the government, right? Imagine this, like, there are Chinese companies, and they're like, we have to charge this rate to make a profit. And then the Chinese government comes in and says, we're going to subsidize you even further so you can bring this market. Like, it's not a free market. China's not operating in a capitalistic market. They are manipulating it by subsidizing their own companies.
Which is ironically exactly what we did, J-Man, to get to the top. Like, our government subsidized the shit out of steel and out of auto manufacturing. Like, governments, I actually think that is the role of government sometimes. I think investing in the future is great. I will almost always oppose investing in the past.
So my original thing was the whole NAFTA, and that whole thing was to reduce the trade deficit and bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. So the trade deficit with China decreased from $419 billion in 2018 to $345 billion in 2019.
Yeah, I think one of the
Biden hasn't done anything to beat that for real.
Well, first of all, I think one thing we need to talk about is the fact that, like, who the hell cares about a trade deficit? Nobody's ever been able to explain to me that a trade deficit is bad. You know who I have a bad trade deficit with?
Manufacturing.
Wait, but hold on. I have a trade deficit with the grocery store, but that's a net benefit for me, right? Like, they've never given me any money. Well, I'm way in the negative with the grocery store, but, like, it's cheaper for me to go to the grocery store than to raise my own crops, raise my own animals, which I can't even do. I live in a goddamn oven. Like, nothing lives out here, so I have no choice. So I don't think a trade deficit, that's one of the things that drove me nuts about the Trump administration. They constantly talked about trade deficits as if they were necessarily bad. Like, they can be an indicator of something gone wrong. But I don't think Donald Trump understands trade deficits. I think he thinks all deficits are bad because he thinks, like, more money is good. Like, you have to be on the other side of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Okay, but also on the manufacturing side, it didn't just reduce the trade deficit, the domestic manufacturing.
Well, so I think you might be mixing up two stories. NAFTA had nothing to do with China. That was the North American Free Trade Agreement.
I didn't say NAFTA had anything to do with China.
Well, okay, the reason I said that, because I don't think we had a trade deficit with Mexico or Canada. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think we had trade deficits there.
No. NAFTA to protect the American jobs. So that's,
so do you know that NAFTA is an agreement with Canada, the United States, and Mexico?
Canada and Mexico. Yeah, Canada and Mexico. So
the idea was to protect
to protect American jobs. Okay,
kind of.
He had a tough stance. He had a tough stance on China with the tariffs. So that reduced the trade deficit and brought manufacturing jobs back to the U.S.
It didn't, though. Like, even if we cut out the fourth year of Trump's presidency, in fairness to Trump, and say, okay, fine, pandemic. Even if you look at his first 3 years of jobs, no, it didn't. He didn't increase jobs in this country.
Yeah, I don't remember if we were slightly a net negative on manufacturing jobs, if I remember correctly. And again, I don't know. Those numbers weren't updated recently, so sometimes numbers trickle in later. and it
And
could have
just for
changed because it was
fact,
close.
the North American Free Trade Agreement was negotiated in 94. That was Clinton. That was Bill Clinton. And then when Trump renegotiated it,
Yeah,
he changed the
renegotiated.
name. So just in fairness, if you want to look up Trump's deal, it's called the United States Mexico Canada Agreement. So it's like the USMCA. So if you're Googling NAFTA to like kind of look up facts, you're not going to find what you're looking for. It's the USMCA that Trump renegotiated and renamed it.
Yeah, I think when it came to manufacturing, it like part of the deal was like 70 or 75% of the I don't know if it was assembly or the vehicle parts needed to be made in America, like 75% of the process, like because we have a lot of plants in Mexico, people were going to Mexico. So I think, let me see if I can find vehicle parts. Yeah, so it requires 75% of a vehicle's parts to be made in one of the three countries, up from what the rule was 62 and a half. So it's saying like, hey, we're going to work together, us three countries. We're not necessarily going to outsource this as much to other countries, 75 up from 62 and a half.
But that's what, does that include, this is more of a question than me making a statement then, because they have to be made in Mexico, US, or China, but I mean, or Canada, but isn't that why China then moved their like factories for auto parts to Mexico?
Yes, but it also did some things for Mexico. Like we made better labor laws in Mexico. Part of the agreement was because Mexico labor laws were obviously to make things more cheaply. It required these companies to also pay Mexican workers more money. So it helped Mexico. It helped us. But yeah, you're right. That's why China went there. I mean, that's why China's here with a lot of their businesses.
That makes sense now. Okay, I never made that connection. So that's more why. So the USMCA requiring parts to be made in one of these three countries is why China and so many auto factories chose Mexico. But they did, in fact, increase their. Yeah, it's true. Mexico is modernizing quickly than other Spanish speaking countries south of here, as far as with labor laws and social ideas, regulation like that.
All right.
The part you said about farming, I think there were some tariffs for certain things between the three countries, and I think it got rid of all the agricultural tariffs between the three countries. So,
that's why the avocados, you guys
yeah,
know, that's why if you guys want to know why avocados are so cheap, it's fascinating to look into. And when the devil's lettuce was largely legalized in America, cartels were out of one of their streams of revenue. And that's why in Michoacan right now, like that's a state in Mexico, if you don't know, it's one of the largest avocado producers. They literally have stopped, they basically they're in a shelter in place situation because the cartel controls a lot of the avocado industry now because they had to move from the devil's lettuce because it's made legally. It's quite an interesting thing to look into.
That's right, J-Man. Next time we talk, you'll be sitting on your roof smoking an avocado instead. That's where we're at.
I must remember that. All right, so look.
I do remember you. You're the guy that was sitting on your roof. Okay, I do remember. I do that sometimes too.
All right, so the First Step Act.
Yeah.
So Trump signed the First Step Act.
Uh-huh.
What did that result to?
I liked the first
early release of 3,000 inmates and sentence reductions for 1,000 more in his first year.
I liked the First Step Act. I think it was a good move. I also don't think he had anything to do with it. I think they told him, "Hey, this will help your reelection," because the very things that he put in the First Step Act, he's now like advocating going back to. I don't think he knew what he signed, to be honest, but I do think I'm happy that he signed it. But he's out there advocating for the exact type of things that he was trying to fix with the First Step Act, things like mandatory minimums, especially for for people who were trafficking in certain substances, which is like he pardoned a woman that was doing 30 years for Mary Jane trafficking, and then he pardoned her because he didn't think it was fair, and then he advocated for the exact policy that put her in jail, the mandatory minimums.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that. But, yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think Biden did anything. The First Step Act is significant.
What do you mean he didn't do anything? He's decriminalizing.
Yeah, I think he's working. Matter of fact, let me finish what I said.
Sorry.
So I think he's working at it, but I don't think he's done anything as good as the First Step Act.
And I want to give credit for credit's due. Like I'm pretty sure the First Step Act, like where did it start? I think Hakeem Jeffries, who's now the House Minority Leader, isn't he the one that was largely responsible for the First Step Act? Like, you know, this stuff starts
Trump
in the
signed it
House.
into law. Yeah,
Well, you can sign it or you can veto it, but again, he had nothing to do with it. Do you understand that? He didn't write it. Democrats brought that bill. Like thank the Democratic Party. Republicans didn't make that bill. Trump just agreed to sign it. Like, and this is some of the highlights because I just want people to know what it is because I think
I'm saying Cory Booker, and I think that's right. It was Cory Booker.
Oh, Cory Booker. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, in the Senate though.
Oh
well,
yeah.
Yeah. I was talking about the House. So address crack cocaine, I'm just gonna say it, sentencing disparity, right? Curtails juvenile solitary confinement, so juveniles can't be put in solitary confinement. Focuses on dignity for women, like things about being pregnant while incarcerated, and not separating mother and baby, things of that nature. Requirement to move people closer to home, so like loved ones in prison, like if possible, have them somewhere where their family can. It's reasonable to drive to visit them. Yeah.
So Trump, he signed it into law, and you know, you said the Democrat Party wrote it, whatever. Okay.
No, it's bipartisan. Trump, I just want to be clear. It's bipartisan. It was a bipartisan. You know, Trump Republicans and Democrats voted for it.
Yeah, Trump can be a D word. He could be a D word, but he wasn't. He signed it. He agreeing with the Democrats.
That's true.
My boy Trump, he working with the people.
Listen, I'm just saying, like, let's not pretend like Trump wrote this at night, in his bed, and then was like, this is a great idea. But I totally agree. I think this is one of the best things that came out of the Trump administration. I absolutely agree with you. And Trump does deserve credit for signing it and not vetoing it 100%.
But J-Man, like, along with the First Step Act, we can agree that that's a good thing. But to say Biden said nothing, like Biden just reclassified MMJ to instead of a Schedule I narcotic. He had the second. It was like called Second Chance Month. He's used his ability to pardon people and commute sentences more than any president in history. What was the total number? 122 commutations and 20 pardons to date. This was as of April 25th of this year. I think more have happened. He created a problem that connected formerly incarcerated individuals to good jobs, right? So people who were incarcerated for maybe nonviolent crimes, he's expunged the records of put forth ideas to expunge records. Like he's doing stuff for people who have been incarcerated.
Yep.
I just want to give credit because I just need to say this. So the First Step Act, Transitioning Every Person Act, right? Co-authored by Hakeem Jeffries,
Boom.
Democrat, who's now the House Minority Leader, and Republican Congressman Doug Collins, Georgia 9th District. So I just want to be clear. If you like the First Step Act, notice Hakeem Jeffries, who's a Brooklyn prosecutor for many years. That's why he was so passionate about it, because he understood what was wrong with putting minorities were being disproportionately put in jail, and he co-authored that bill. So I just want to make sure we give credit to that's one of his passion projects.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Hakeem Jeffries.
Shout out.
I love him. For a moderate, right? For a moderate Democrat, he is a moderate Democrat. He's not as left as I would like him to be, but he's a great leader and he's done some great things.
Hell yeah.
Did we get through all your notes, J-Man?
Love this.
I just got one more. And I'm gonna come up with some more next time.
Yeah. What's the last one?
My next one is regulation and business environment.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm about
you mean
to read,
deregulation?
Yeah. That's my title of my note. Deregulation. All right, deregulation.
Yeah, the problem with what he deregulated is that it has cost it's proliferated the transfer of wealth into the billionaire class. A lot of things, even like train derailments. The train derailment we had in Ohio, he had loosened regulations that said like you have to check the brakes on trains, because the train company's like, hey, this regulation costs us money, and he's like, oh well, we would never want to cost a business any money. And so I think the problem that we have in this country, especially when it comes to taxes, is not enough regulation. And I would love to hear an argument from conservatives of why we need deregulation, because every time we deregulate, the average American is hurt by corporations, and the corporations don't have to pay the price for it. They just get to keep hoarding the money.
So the Trump administration, they claim to eliminate 8 regulations for every new one introduced, right?
Yeah, but on its face, do you understand how that's silly? Like, to just say, for every new one, we'll get rid of 8. Well, what if there's not 8 to get rid of? What if there's not 8 good regulations to get rid of? And this is the problem I have with MAGA in general, is everything they say on the surface, yeah, that sounds great on the surface, but does it make any sense? Not really. Like, what regulations are you going to get rid of?
Well, I'll tell you, like some of the examples, right? Like it are not allowing workers to have bathroom breaks. Like what they present it as, J-Man, like just notice, they'll always say like, oh, it's hurting small business owners because when there's all of these regulations around like constructions and permitting or whatever, it makes it so small business owners can't compete. But that's not what they're deregulating, right? The regulations protect workers, us, right? The working class, the slave labor class, the people that go to work for the billionaires to produce the surplus. Regulations, like safety regulations, if you're allowed to skirt safety regulations, who does that hurt? These people, workers who are getting hurt in factories, like, oh, they don't have to get 8 hours of sleep and can work longer shifts. Then there's accidents, people are injured. That's the type of deregulation that makes it cheaper and more legal for corporations to hurt workers. We have to be careful for. But I'm not saying all deregulation is bad. If there is a regulation you could show me is not going to hurt us, the middle class, then sure, let's deregulate. But the problem is, like, they celebrate deregulation. Yeah, those billionaires are celebrating. They're trying to take away all the federal laws that protect us from them. And then we'll just be true slaves.
Yeah, that definitely sounds right. That definitely sounds right. I understand what you're saying. That's my last one though. I think I won one of them though. Y'all had 3, but I think I got to give myself one.
I like that.
I just followed you. I truly enjoyed this.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Come back soon.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna come
enjoy
back
your avocados.
All right, man.
All right, there we go. You know what? I know Jay, man, like a lot of people said he had like a bad rep. I've only ever had good experiences talking to him that I can remember. So I like Jay, man. You're welcome anytime. All right. Are you bringing your back up, please? Oh, there it is.
Well, I just wanted to again point out that the 10 Commandments need to be displayed in every classroom. So
let me check comments.
Sure that we have the 10 Commandments up in case anyone from Louisiana is listening. It's the law.
Yeah. Sully says, what can travel all around the world without leaving its corner?
What?
A stamp.
Oh, that's good.
Janice says, education, you two are the best lives. Thank you. And I take that
literally.
That's why
we're education. That's why we're displaying the 10 Commandments.
That's right. If we're going to be educational.
This is a classroom.
Michelle says, what do you think the odds that Trump finds a way to not debate? I don't think either one of these candidates can really back out this late without looking horrible.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
I think both of if I was running for president against Donald Trump, I would also not want to debate him. We've seen him debate. He doesn't debate. He's just he has
no
ball.
Idea what debate is.
Yeah.
But that's the interesting part they were talking, because one of the rules of the debate, right? Trump probably, it was a mistake for him because like the way he doesn't debate, right? Like exactly, there's no format. He doesn't follow rules. And when he said anytime, any place, what he allowed Biden to do is set the time, the place, and the rules, right? Which one is Trump's main thing is just never stop talking. It's the Byron Donald special. He learned that from Donald Trump. Just never stop talking. Don't answer any questions you're asked. Answer whatever question you feel like answering. Like, does Donald Trump answer the questions that he's asked, or does he just say whatever it is he feels like saying? But this time his microphone, right? There's time limits, and then your microphone is shut off.
Yeah. So I think they're both in. Wasn't Me says, what do you call James Bond in a bath?
In a bath?
Yeah.
Bubble, I don't know.
Oh,
Bubble
you're there.
07. Bubble
Got
07.
it. Nailed it. Bubble 07. Well done. Well done. You had it.
That's like the first time ever. You had a day where you got like 6 in a row.
Yeah, I remember that day. That's probably the best day of my life.
I've never seen you so excited.
I peaked on that day.
Okay, on the fact check on the Biden cheap fake section for the outline, like we went through 5, 4, 3. So yeah, let me just review this. So we saw I'm not going to play the videos, but we saw the wider angle, right, of how they completely distorted it. And there's actually like 5 parachuters behind Biden. He was not, in fact, looking off into the distance.
I have to remove you.
What did I?
I don't know. Come back, Felice. I had to remove the amount of times I've had to remove Felice for bullying. That's crazy. Come back. You got to stop, Felice. You're becoming a real problem.
Oh wait, will you drop my backup, Jen, and then I'll request. I forgot. Is that the right one? Yeah, it will be. Just give me 1 second.
I wonder what.
Say something, guys. Keep tapping the screen. Can you remind everyone to?
Hey guys, keep tapping the screen. Share it with your favorite or least favorite Republican friends. Share it with your grandparents, your parents, your friends, your enemies. Share it with everybody. That would be terrific. We're also on YouTube. You can catch us there if you need to leave TikTok for some reason. And the replays are also available usually a couple hours after the live ends. Make sure you're subscribed and following us there so that when we host the debate next week, that you guys can watch it with us there on YouTube. And let me check comments real quick. I'm losing my voice again. I think I got him. This is a tough one. While you're pulling that up, Don Sutherland, a veteran actor most known for his roles in MASH, Clute, and The Hunger Games, has passed away. According to his agent, Missy Davy, he was 88 years old. I loved MASH. That was one of the only shows I watched growing up.
Really? Well, that's because those were the only
cable.
shows we had.
Yeah.
Me too. But I never got into it. Like my sister would watch it, and I just was like, "What in the actual?"
No,
but now that
great.
I'm older and I got a degree in history and spent a lot of time studying postmodern America and like the Vietnam War, now I should probably go back and watch, and I think I would appreciate it. I just think I was like, I did not get it. I was a kid. I didn't understand.
For those asking about the debate, it's on the 27th, which is a day of the week that is
1 week from today.
There we
Thursday.
go. Today's the 20th. It starts at 9 Eastern time.
6 p.m. Pacific, and yes, we will be streaming it, and we'll just keep reminding you guys, make videos about it, everything. So,
and you can't find it anywhere else. We are the only one. We are actually hosting the debate, so don't look for it on your TV. Don't look for it anywhere else. It will only be on our YouTube channel. Nobody else has the rights.
Spread the word. Oh, I just wanted to show this really quick. So this is a post from Donald Trump 2 days ago. He says, or yesterday, he says, nobody can ever trust Fox News. The literal corporation that is a full-time lying for him. He can't even appreciate. Nobody should ever trust Fox News. I am one of them with weak I am one of them with the weak and ineffective rhino Paul Ryan on its board of directors. He's a total lightweight, a failed and pathetic Speaker of the House, a very disloyal person. Romney was bad. I thought you would like this because it mentioned mittens.
You son of a bitch.
Romney was bad, but Paul Ryan made him look worse. As a team, they never had a chance. Rupert and Lachlan, get that dog off your board. You don't need him. All you need is Trump. Make America great again. He's calling people animals again.
Also, that's insane. All you need is Trump. I don't know if you saw any of this. Logan Paul interviewed Trump. I'm sure you saw it.
Oh my God. I know.
One of the things that he said that they asked him is like, what advice would you give to young Americans who want to achieve the American dream and make a bunch of money? And he said, vote Trump. This guy doesn't honestly know. Like, he honestly doesn't know. What's he going to say? Well, the key to being rich is inherit $250 million from your dad and then just like fuck around the rest of your life and be on TV a bunch. That's the key. Like, what's he going to say? He can't.
I'm surprised he didn't say pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, that's how out of touch he is with reality. I just wanted to show this though, like in the Biden cheap fake section, because think about it. Fox spends all of this time doing all of this work. Think about the million, as someone that worked in advertising, Trump gets millions of dollars of free advertising from Fox News and still does not appreciate it. But this is super interesting. Okay.
No one at Fox, this isn't going to be covered by Fox, by the way. No one at Fox is going to give a shit about this. Can you imagine, like, if Biden said that about Fox News, it would lead every program they have. It's all they would talk about. We'd have to hear about it from every one of these MAGA losers that shows up and is like, yeah, Joe Biden's attacking America because they said, like, Fox, you can't trust Fox. But if Trump says it, it's fine. They'll just pretend it didn't happen. They'll probably agree. Like, you'll probably see Judge Jeanine like, you shouldn't trust us anymore. You should only trust Donald Trump.
Yeah, and so in the outline, 10, like this is a Midas touch story, like that you can put in, and it has the thing I just showed, the Truth Social post from Trump. Fox News deceptively edits Biden's speech and continues to push cheap fakes. Oh, I'm sorry. And 11 is the Trump attacks Fox News, demands firing of Paul Ryan. And then 12, and you can put 12 in the Discord too. So 10 through 12, which is the Ronnie Johnson stuff we already went through. This is fascinating though. This is an author who he's interviewed Trump more times than anyone post-presidency. And there's a book, it's either out or it's coming out. And it's basically about The Apprentice and different things. But what's more interesting, so here's some facts, right? This is a person who's interviewed Trump more times than anyone post-presidency. And this is what he was telling Caitlin Collins about it. These are facts. That's the difference between...
First, start off about your sit-downs with Trump. 6 times after he left the White House, which, you know, is such a different period thinking about what's happening in Virginia tonight and seeing his grip on the Republican Party. I mean, what was he like? What did you observe from him when you sat down with him?
So I interviewed Donald Trump more than any other journalist since he's left the White House. We started in May 2021, and that report you just talked about meandering and confusing is right. He goes from one story to the next. He struggles with the chronology of events. He seems very upset that he wasn't respected by certain celebrities in the White House, and then he'd go to a story about The Apprentice. So as you know, Caitlin, it's very challenging to interview Donald Trump and to go toe-to-toe with him, but there was some cognitive questions about where he was and what he was thinking, and he would from time to time become confused.
Because you wrote at one point about Joan Rivers, him telling you that
Listen
she
to
voted
this.
for him in 2016, I believe, even
He
though...
confidently told me and declared that Joan Rivers voted for him when he ran for president, and Joan Rivers died in 2014. Joan Rivers died in 2014, so she would not have been able to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear. Donald Trump, after his presidency, when he was interviewed by this man for a book about how it's basically about how The Apprentice shaped Trump's presidential future, and he swore to this author that Joan Rivers voted for him in 2016, and she had been not with us for 2 years. She died in 2014.
Yeah, and I am the MAGA whisperer here. I just, for the MAGA here, look, nobody's listening. 2014 was before 2016, and that's why we know she didn't vote for him. So they go in numerical order, and it would go 2014, 2015, 2016. So that's how we know. But don't worry, it's fine. Nobody heard this.
That's hilarious. I mean,
sorry,
that's
I had to
probably
talk to
was
somebody.
Well, no, because look what they did with JFK. They probably were like, no, she came back from the dead to vote for Trump.
Yeah. I've got some comments to read here real quick. They all rolled in at once. What? Hold on. Oh, in London, I got it. Yeah, in London, someone gets stabbed every 52 seconds. Yeah, that poor bastard. Wait for it.
Someone gets stabbed.
Like it's just him.
Yeah,
it's him.
I get
He's the
it.
one getting stabbed. Yeah,
that's,
I liked that one.
Too bad
I liked that
for
a
that
lot.
guy. That's what I was. I got it. Okay, I think I was.
M. Scott, thank you for your donation on PayPal. And then this one you're gonna like. A little boy woke up one morning and said he had a dream that his Nana died. His parents didn't think anything of it, but then his Nana died just a few days later. The next week, the little boy had a dream that his grandpa died. Again, his parents didn't think anything of it, but then a few days later, his grandpa died. The next morning, the little boy awoke and said he had a dream that his father died. His parents were worried, but nothing happened as a few days went by. The next day, when the little boy's dad came home, he said he was so relieved that he did not die. His wife said, "Me too, but this morning our milkman dropped dead on our front porch."
Because affair, right? Because
affair. What was? Do you need? Let's get the commandments back up again. I think that's on there. Let's get those up there. That's number.
It's important we continue
what is that
displaying
one? Number.
Them. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
7. Number 7, guys. We don't do 7.
We have to display the 10 Commandments every so often, or we can't teach you guys anything.
And we can't label ourselves educational. Yeah, sorry, guys.
Almost done. Sorry. I just have to keep switching. Okay, let's finish this clip because it's super interesting. So again, we just heard from this man. Trump told this author that Joan Rivers voted for him, even though she had not been with us for 2 years.
He was, or maybe they did voter fraud and he admitted it. Does anybody check that?
That Sue said that in the comments. I will give her.
Oh,
I'm going to give her credit for that first, because that was the first thing I saw. Yeah, Sue said maybe it's voter fraud.
Because you talked about his memory, you wrote that, on some days I have the feeling he has no idea who he's even talking to, that he actually forgot or didn't remember that the two of you had spoken at your first sit-down interview.
Right, so my first sit-down was in May. He wasn't doing a lot of interviews, and then we sat down again towards the end of the summer, and when I sat down, there was a very blank expression on his face, so I asked, "Do you remember when we spoke recently?" And he said, "No, I have no memory of that." And he couldn't recall. He said it was a long time ago. And then we had to start from scratch. So the interview started from square one, where he started telling me the same exact stories that I heard in our first interview.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, then we did more interviews so that we could cover more ground. But it was a little bit like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and the Trump.
You guys have the Robert Hur report where he says many times that in the report. Right. Well, I can't remember the exact words that Biden's memory is great. And then we have these accounts from people that he can't even remember when he talked to people before.
My grandmother had dementia, and every time we saw she said some wild things, but it was early, before it really took its course. Like, what we saw first is just that always repeating the same story over and over, sometimes within like an hour of each other, right? And not remembering who people were. Like, this is, again, we're not medical doctors. I just want to point out that if we're talking about cognitive decline or signs of dementia, I don't think we should talk about that. But if we are going to talk about it, we've got to be both sides on this, right? One person is showing more of the symptoms than the other, and it's not Joe Biden. And somehow MAGA has been convinced that it's Joe Biden, when like Trump's up there talking about driving his car into the ocean with a battery or something. I don't really know what the plan there was, but yeah, like clearly Donald Trump is not who he was. Go watch. I would just challenge anybody to go watch Donald Trump on the campaign trail in 2015 and 16 and now. They're not even remotely close to the same person. It is a very different person.
I concur. Guys, tap the screen. Tap the screen. I think we should transition from here into Royce White. I think that's probably the next appropriate thing to talk about.
Yeah, let's do that.
What do you think? I think it is, because it's
I'm glad
important.
I brought Royce White to your attention.
Oh yeah, thank you. I otherwise would never have known about it.
Let me tell you guys what happened this morning. I was going through the outline, and I had seen the Royce White interview, and I clicked on a link in our outline of the Royce White interview, and then I went and was talking to my daughter, and I came back and I just pushed play, and then I was like, oh yeah, we need to cover this. We haven't covered this yet. So I called police. I was like, have you covered this? She's like, it's on the outline. And then I looked on my other screen, and there was the outline. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I got here. I clicked on the outline, and that's how this whole video popped up. So that was our morning this morning. Police is very patient with me.
I think my partner's exhibiting signs of memory loss. I'm concerned he has dementia.
No. Yeah.
No,
I may not be fit to be president either.
So if you guys don't, so Royce White is who knows, like how this even came about, but he's the Republican candidate to face off against Amy Klobuchar, one of the most intelligent people in the Senate, like one of the most capable, most accomplished senators, like Minnesota, like she is like one of the best things about Minnesota. And then they put up a man named Royce White against him. And let me just explain how bad this is. Like, first of all, he apparently is not paying child support because women are mouthy, and he does not believe that mouthy women deserve child support. Don't ask. I don't know. But then, basically his campaign finance, every I don't know if it's every month for senators, or it's every quarter or whatever, campaign finance reports come out where you have to say what you're spending campaign donations on. And his came out, and apparently he's spending his campaign donations at strip clubs. And instead of just being like, well, I mean, you could say that's a lie, it's not true, I don't know why it's there, but he can't say that because it is true. So instead of just being a normal person and just owning something or taking accountability, there's no accountability in the Republican Party. So he basically says like, well, it might have been in a strip club, but they serve food there. Like, I didn't spend it on strippers.
Before we go too far into this is ridiculous, but I just would like to point out, the Republican Party now has done this twice. They did it with Herschel Walker, and they're doing it with Royce White. They take a former athlete who's black and conservative, and that's enough for them. Royce White, the only reason I knew Royce White before this is because he caused a pretty significant discussion nationally when he was playing for, I think it was Houston, and he was afraid of flying, but he also had mental health issues, and he needed time off. And there was this big discussion of should you have somebody on your team with mental health issues who regularly needs time off, right? And that's who this person is. So then, and he's had a career, the rest of his professional career was marred by mental health issues, and not discrediting him at all for that. I'm just saying this is a person who historically has had a hard time just functioning in everyday life. And the Republicans yeah, let's put him up against Klobuchar and let's see how it goes.
And as someone who's dealt with their mental health issues in different ways, right, you can have mental health issues, and you can own it and say, hey, this is who I am, you know what I'm saying? Or option two, which I did pretty much in my 20s, is you can be in denial about it, you can be angry about it, you can not take accountability, not seek help, and then just sort of spew a bunch of BS into the world. Those are your true choices, and you can be the judge of which route Royce White has taken here. You guys, if you it's also, get ready to laugh.
Yeah, it's also a man who somehow marched with George Floyd during the George Floyd protests, and then a year or two later was a Republican, literally on the opposite side of that. So it's bizarre.
Yeah, he got down the alt-right pipeline. And Kimberly, one of our mods, said that some buffets are free at strip clubs, which, yes, sometimes they are. That's very true. Sometimes the food is free. But I will say this, as a connoisseur of strip clubs, I haven't been to one in a long time, but I would say I've been to more than most people will ever go to in their life. And there's really nice strip clubs like that have like steakhouses inside. I mean, I lived in Miami. And, you know, went to Atlanta a lot. Like, there's good food at strip clubs that do cost money. Like, at this one I went to, you could pay a woman, a stripper, to eat with you, either clothed or not clothed. I'm just telling you my experience.
Yeah, it's...
I'm not saying I didn't pay anyone to eat with me. I'm saying I watched someone else do it.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, have you ever been to a strip club?
One time, and it was like one.
True,
it was,
Miami is a different story.
Honest to God, the most
world.
Traumatic experience of my life. To swear to God, it was. I can't discuss that.
Your face
on
must have
here.
been so red. You must have been like.
I was pretty stoned, so I think I handled it well. But once that wore off, it got. Anyways, it was.
I'm the worst. Like, I used to date someone who was pretty wealthy and was an athlete, and I would take like thousands of dollars of ones, and instead of throwing them, I'd be like giving them to bathroom attendants, like being like, yeah, you should go back to school, like talking to the strippers,
doing motivational speeches.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, you should go back to school, and everyone would be looking at me like, what are you doing? I had to like have their numbers after.
Doc Kirsten said Northern Exposure on Beck Street. That's a Utah joke. Utah has, for a while, I don't know if it's still the same, had two strip clubs. They had Northern Exposure and Southern Exposure, and obviously the Northern Exposure one was north of the Southern one, but it also was a descriptor of what things could be exposed. So Northern, and I believe, I don't know if it's changed. I'm still pretty sure you have to have on, is it pasties? Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
pasties?
like in Idaho, where I lived in college. Yeah, they were called like bikini bars, but it's not like a bikini. It's like pasties. I have them on right now.
We got to start throwing some singles, see what happens.
Just saying.
No, I went. I went in Las
it's like
Vegas.
pasties and
when I went, it was
like
Las
a
Vegas.
Straight,
so it was,
like floss thong.
Yeah, which I have on right now.
Oh, we're such a great team. This is hilarious.
Hold on, let me read a
hilarious
message real quick.
This is real.
Let me read this message real quick from M. Scott. Okay, with it. Why did the fuck you? Why did the sperm cross the road?
That's bullying. Why are you not?
You'll see. Why did the sperm cross the road? Because RTP threw out the wrong rug on garbage day.
That's hilarious.
I'm not gonna tell you guys stories anymore.
That's funny.
Everybody just picks on me.
Thanks. It's like
Ryan needs to see the 10 Commandments again real quick.
Yeah, we should put him back. I think we've gotten away from the 10 Commandments on this show. It's time to just refresh everyone's memory, because it's about God, people. It really is. We might be talking about strip clubs, but at the end of the day, it's about God.
And
if you want to learn this.
You might like science, but science is God. We just need you to know that.
That's a good point.
Praise be. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Praise him. Okay, now on to the. It's so funny that this is Amy Klobuchar's, like, one of the most serious, intelligent senators in the Senate, and here's her competition. I wonder if she will win.
Kick things off in Minnesota, where Republicans have endorsed Royce White to run against Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar in November. And he's already turning the race into an episode of Jerry Springer.
White has been mired in controversial revelations, including failure to pay child support, referring to women as mouthy, and at one time identifying himself as an anti-Semite on social media. And then there are the questionable campaign expenditures in 2022 when he ran for Congress, including $1,200 at a Florida strip club.
I'm not paying child support to mouthy women because I'm spending it at a strip club. I mean, talk about red flag bingo. He even calls himself an anti-Semite on social media. Although, to be fair to him, declaring you're an anti-Semite is how you have to log into Twitter now. That's the new capture.
Look.
By the way,
It's a capture. You kind of can't see it because of the glare. I'm sure now, but that is how you have to log into X now. That's hilarious. This guy's so funny.
If you're wondering about the accusation that Royce spent campaign funds at a strip club, listen, he has a very clear explanation for this.
It was recently revealed you spent campaign donations at a strip club. Is that true?
That's not true.
Okay.
It was a reference to a campaign filing at
Yes.
the FEC that was not done properly.
Your claim is there were filings which said you spent campaign funds at a strip club, but they were incorrect filings.
No, they didn't say that I spent the funds at a strip club. Or no, let's say they didn't say that I spent the funds on strippers.
But it was spent at a strip club.
Well, a strip club they sell food at the strip club, don't they?
Like, this is the Republican Party. Wait, let me put the 10 Commandments back up, because that's what we're doing here. Do we get the hypocrisy of these people?
He's just Ron Swanson showing up to strip clubs for the breakfast buffet. That's what I love. The part where, first of all, this interview starts with him saying, "No, that's not true. I didn't spend money at a strip club." And then they ask him, and he's like, "No, it's not true. Well, I didn't spend it on strippers." Oh, okay. So you did spend it at a strip club. They serve food there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the old, oh my God. If you start getting into, well, you can eat at strip clubs, you're guilty. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you start getting into the nitty gritty and trying to justify your presence at a strip club, that's your own guilt.
I think this might be the compartmentalization that I have in my life where because of being raised in a cult, but I don't get it. I don't understand eating at a strip club. What are you doing there? Why are you there? Why are you eating there? That's such a bizarre thing to do. Like, to me, that is, it comes off as like, it feels so medieval to just like sit there and eat like you're cutting your steak and you're like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice move. I don't know. Unless maybe they're great dancers. Maybe you're there for the.
No, they are. I was going to say, you have a misunderstanding. Like, and it depends again. The strip clubs are a spectrum. Like, I'll say that. Okay. And I've been to hundreds, so I know. But the thing is it's not like on the upper end, like what people pole work, right? Fitness, like people do fitness pole work. Like it's they're gymnasts. Like the best strippers are real gymnasts. Like you can, okay. I mean, these are the truth. Like if I consider like like for me, it's about ADHD. Like it's just it's the best place because there's something happening. It's like there's something to watch. It's performance art. Like you were indoctrinated into a cult. So was I. But I think because I'm a woman, like I've deconstructed like things about my body more than you have. Like I recognize probably. Now, like when I was young, like telling me not to show my knees because men would be tempted by it is porn wrong, knees. Right?
Yeah, porn
like,
knees.
I mean, like women should celebrate their bodies. We should not be shamed for our bodies. Like we should be sex positive. If women want to be naked and perform, it's art and engage in performance art. Like there is nothing wrong with that. And I do think if you feel like there's something wrong with that, then like I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm just saying in general. We need to deconstruct. Like think about why. Like what is wrong with that?
No, that makes sense. Like that's a hard job, right? You have to. Like everybody's has insecurities, right? And you're up there and you're naked in front of people. The other part of it that I was thinking of was just like pretending that you like or care about the person that you're talking to that's paying you, right? Like that's hard to do. There's a real customer service background that is required for that. That is not an easy job.
If you ask any stripper, sex work's about therapy. I mean, people more so even just as much in sex work, it's about just listening to someone, just talking, like making a human connection, making someone essentially feel heard, seen, and feel special. Like, I mean, that's essentially what it's about sometimes. It's about listening to people talk. I mean, these are my friends that do this, like tell me. But again, and as a socialist, right, like there's no better socialist career than sex work for women. Like we own our own means of production, literally. Like, and nobody can take that away from us, except for if there's like when you start paying out percentages. But that's the beauty of things like OF, like OnlyFans, is that women or sex workers, because men are sex workers as well, own their own means of production, and no one can take that away from them.
That's a good point. Maybe that's how we convert conservatives. Maybe we infiltrate strip clubs all around the country, and during that therapy, we just like move them a little left every time, right? It's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
if anybody wants to start that, I'll help promote it.
Okay, and we go on because the shit show continues.
So I'm not sure this helps his case. Minnesota needs a senator who makes good decisions. So vote for me, the guy who goes to a strip club to eat shrimp. And look, hey, I'm sorry for interrupting him. Okay, I mean, you were busy explaining how you don't know anything about strip clubs.
You spent the money on food at a strip club. Is that more accurate?
You seem to be very unfamiliar with strippers and strip clubs and drag strip shows, so I'll inform you, maybe you aren't informed, that they do have food at strip clubs.
So what you're saying is the money was spent
did you know that, though?
club.
Did you know that?
I know strip clubs
Have you ever been to a strip club?
One time.
Did you like the food?
No.
You gotta go to better strip clubs.
Okay.
That's true.
Bagman is so good.
This guy went really quick from not knowing anything about strip clubs to being a strip club expert. Right? I don't know about that place, but go to the second floor, ask for Tariffs, okay? She'll take you to the champagne room, and behind that is the real VIP room, code 2664. Tell them you want the Royce White special, they'll know what you need.
That's basically it. But so, I mean, it's hilarious because he did start at the beginning like, oh, I don't really know, to like knowing way too much about strip clubs. He is right. There is some places where food is good at strip clubs.
I love
and
the
places
shaming.
where they're
Like,
not.
did you like the food? No. Well, you got to go to better ones. Like he's so bummed about that. I feel like David and Pacman and I would be the same amount of uncomfortable at a strip club.
Oh yeah, you guys. Yeah. Is he Mormon? He looks. He kind of.
No,
he's the vibe.
I don't know. I think I've heard him say he wasn't raised religious. Like he's from Argentina and he's Jewish. But I think if I remember correctly, him saying his parents. Okay. I remember watching him talk with Jesse.
No,
Lee
you can
Peterson.
stop at Argentina. Yeah. I've talked about this many times. Like I used to live in South America as well, and like what people don't understand is compared to the United States, which compared to Europe is a very stifling place. South America is so conservative. Like everybody is conservative. It's just a spectrum of how conservative. Yeah, strip clubs are very inappropriate in South America. Like because of the stranglehold Spanish colonization had on, and the Catholic Church moving in. Yeah, it's
there were a bunch of
medieval times in South America. There were a bunch
of German conservatives who moved to Germany in the 30s and 40s.
The schmazzies, you mean?
Yeah, a lot of them moved. Yeah.
That's and so did Jews. They both escaped to South America. That's why there are huge Argentinians. If you're in that country and other countries around there, the people are very, very tall. Not the indigenous people, but it's because of the Germans that emigrated there along with Jews and mixed with indigenous populations. Like compared to other South American countries, like the average height it's fascinating.
I want to go.
But this you guys are going to find this interesting. More on Royce White. So this was posted right on the Daily Show's site, and Royce White comments underneath it. Okay, and is like,
no.
Oh, why didn't you show this part? And comments with a video of more of the Pacman interview, which makes him look 10 times worse than what they showed. So I don't know why, but I recorded. This is what he posted underneath this video and was like, why don't you play this part? And it's like, this makes you look. Basically what he's doing is comparing like drag story time, like drag queens reading, like, so dressing in drag or drag shows to strip clubs, which, yeah, no comparison. One, you have clothes on.
Been more specific.
I get the point that you think women are out of control. I got it.
No. I said radical feminists are out of control. Be clear. And they are. That's why they're bringing their children to drag stripper shows.
Let me ask.
And they're not stripper shows. But he says, again, like he's made the claim several times, like, you look this guy up, his name is Royce White, like that women are out of control. And now he's trying to say, oh, I mean radical feminists. Well, no, you said women are mouthy and out of control is what you said.
No. I said radical feminists are out of control. Be clear. And they are. That's why they're bringing their children to drag stripper shows.
Let me ask about a couple
of things. Do you think that's okay? Do you think it's okay to sexualize children at drag stripper shows?
I don't think the children are being sexualized if they go to a drag show. No, I just don't think that that's the sexualization.
You don't think children are being? Would it be okay for me as a grown adult male to take underage kids to a regular strip club?
I don't think they're allowed. No.
So why are they allowed to do it? But why aren't they allowed?
Royce.
Why aren't they allowed? Is it because of the alcohol or because of the sexualization?
I don't know the laws around strip clubs.
Okay, so again, at drag shows, people are not taking their clothing off. Would be the difference. But this is what men, particularly on the far right, like seemingly do not understand. Like, there's nothing wrong. What is it that guy said, the libertarian candidate? Like, you're born naked and everything after that is a drag performance?
Yeah.
Like whatever type of makeup or clothing anyone of any gender chooses to wear is not sexualization just because it makes closed-minded men uncomfy.
And we've said it before, that's the problem. And I say this from experience, that the sexualization thing that they accuse people on the left, it's just, those are their own thoughts. They can't see somebody in drag and not think of it sexually. It's not like, I've been to one I went to a drag story hour. It was fucking hilarious. At no point did I think, oh, this is sexual. Right? But this is just
not.
Right, it's just their own thoughts. And that's what happens when you're raised or you're in an environment that like shames all sexuality and modesty. The stuff that you're feeling is just stuff you've been conditioned to. It was hard for me, still hard for me. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and we were raised, you do not wear 2-piece swimming suits, right? I have a 4-year-old.
I know, the Mormons, I know. I went to the water park Lagoon in Utah in a 2-piece. I was scared. Like, the looks I got, I was like, I don't want to be here. This is the most uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, but even with her, like, I just remember thinking, like, it didn't really bother me much, but my knee-jerk reaction was to think, I don't know if this is okay. That was, and then I'm like, of course it's okay. What are you doing? Like, of course it's okay. Like, you already deprogrammed this shit. Yeah, exactly.
Free the nipple. Yeah, I used to like do advocacy work for that movement because it's very much true. Like in Europe, like it's so normal for you don't have to wear shirts. Do you guys remember the period around like 2020 or 2021 where there were all those videos on YouTube of women breastfeeding and men were like, get this, you're not allowed to like show your boobs in public, and it's like over breastfeeding.
It's not sexual, but men see like that's all they think about. They see a boob, they're like, oh, that's obviously sexual. It's interesting that like the more progressive we've gotten as a society around the world, just look around the world, the most progressive societies have the least amount of abuse. It's how that works, right? Because you're empowering people to make their own decisions. You're teaching people that somebody else gets to make decisions with their bodies. People can wear whatever they're comfortable with. And when you're around that and you become conditioned that like people are individuals, abuse is scaled down. But when the problem I have with like these churches preaching morality is that like it over sexualizes everything. And then because you're not allowed to sexualize anything, you do everything behind closed doors. Right, everybody that's religious is closeted in some way, right? You can't tell you. One of the things still to this day with my friends, and all my friends are conservatives. Nobody will admit that they watch porn. Nobody will. Everybody still makes fun of it like nobody does, and everybody knows that everybody does it, but nobody will admit it to each other because like we were taught to be shamed by that, and then like the bro culture was. It's not that I'm not into it. It's just like I like the real thing. Like that's just for people who can't get the real thing. It's like no, it's not. It's just simple, and we all like there's not somebody there at your beck and call all the time. But like then it got red pilled into like that the alpha male shit, and then you see that with Tim Pool now. You see it with Andrew Tate, who by the way said the N-word on Twitter yesterday.
Did he? I didn't hear that. I'm not like, you're more in that.
Juneteenth is just a holiday for, no, I think he said ratchet N-words.
From
that was his whole
jail
tweet.
from sex trafficking.
And remember,
okay,
remember all the people we've had up here like saying that they weren't like conservatives weren't racist. He said Juneteenth was for ratchet N-words. I'm pretty sure
they know what they
specifically what he said. Yeah. And you won't hear much about that from them today.
Well, I just want to like
Andrew Tate said that.
I want to give you guys this idea because it very much is, right? And you're right. It's men, it's Republican, and on the right, on that spectrum, political spectrum, and religion is an overlay of that, plays a part in that. They sexualize everything. And why? It's because they're sexual, like you're saying, sexuality is repressed. They're not allowed to talk about their sexuality. They can't admit that they're watching porn. And because of that, like that repression that men feel, it seeps out in other creepy ways, right? Like sexualizing everything. A long time ago when I was like kind of just deconstructing on TikTok, I remember a woman made a video and was talking about how like she gets home from a hard day and we like wearing underwire bras all day at the office and she just wants to take her bra off and her shirt off and just feel normal, but like she had to have a long conversation with her husband to explain like just because you are seeing me naked, like I'm not asking you to now sexualize me. Yeah. Like I'm exhausted, like I'm trying to relax, like I'm in pain because of this bra. Like please don't sexualize me at this time. Like nudity is not a moment to sexualize women. It's just, and that's what men have to think about and sort of deconstruct and understand that women's nudity, like think about like Islam, and the goal is like don't even show your forehead because that might turn a man on and that's inappropriate. But because of that repression, like men see an ankle and sexualize it and then demonize women for it. And like men need to like really think about that, like that women's nudity it's not an invitation to sexualize us. And when we say, oh, don't show your knees, skirts needs to cover your knees, like it's not, we don't need to talk to women about that. The conversation needs to be with boys and men about women are not inviting you just because of what we're wearing to sexualize us. Like that's the larger conversation. And that's why he's calling women mouthy, because we're trying to explain to you, like, I am not full-time here for your viewing pleasure and to sexualize me. I wear clothes because it's part of my self-expression and what I like, but it's not an invitation to sexualize us. And I think that distinction like needs to be made and talked about more.
I'm not going to add to that. Yeah, amen.
And this, oh my God, I have the best segue. You're going to love this. And now,
oh yeah.
Oh,
wait,
so you do.
I do have I have some comments to get to real quick, and then hold on to that segue. Patricia says, "What did the hurricane say to the coconut tree?"
What?
Hold on to your nuts.
That's a good one.
Amy says, "The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I?"
The more you take, the more you leave behind. Drugs. Sorry.
Footprints. Okay.
Oh.
Maybe we put that.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard that one actually.
Yeah. I think sometimes Jesus is carrying you too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I had that stupid picture. Like all Christian homes had that in some form. Like know that story. This is when I carried you.
Yeah.
But then there were only one pair of footprints in the sand, and this is when I carried you. If you know what we're talking about, you were indoctrinated as a child.
Greg says Jones RTP 2024 campaign donations. I don't know if that's baby Jones or full grown Jones, but I appreciate the donation for our campaign. I was not aware that it had even kicked off or that was a thing, but thank you, Greg. Did I miss one? I think I got it.
Everyone knows everyone in the comments knows about the footprints in the sand. Why?
It was so stupid.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Is that the last one?
That's it. Yeah.
Guys, keep tapping the screen. We're almost to 200K. And if you have a comment you would like us to read, this is Cash App and Venmo. We rely on donations and tips to keep our show going, and we appreciate all of them so much. We'll read whatever you have to say. Question, comment, concern, dad joke, whatever, as long as we don't get banned. And again, just keep tapping the screen and please invite people to the live. we are accepting opposition. If you would like to talk to us about anything we're talking about or other political topics, we have ADHD. We can pivot on a dime.
So good. It's one of our best qualities. Is
it's one of my favorite things to do, is just talk about something no one was talking about. And now I have the best segue. So we've been talking.
Wait, I have to tell you something real quick on that topic. I took a quiz yesterday on ADHD. I tried to take it 4 different times. I never finished it. They're emailing me like crazy, like, come finish your quiz. And now I'm mad at them and I'm not going to finish it because now I feel like they're nagging
function.
me.
I know what you mean. I totally get it. Such a problem. Okay, so we're talking about, right, this guy talking about sexualizing women, or he is sexualizing women inappropriately, talking about that drag shows are sexualization. But where, and how the drag shows or drag story time is hurting children. But who do we know is really hurting children, right? The church. Yes, the Republicans, the evangelicals, the church. And that's my segue into one horrible story we have to talk about. Have you guys heard about who Robert Morris is? Creeperton? Okay. That's Don Jr. with him. That's Don Jr. Robert Morris is the head of a huge conglomerate of churches in Texas, like hundreds of thousands of members on Sunday. And let me make sure I find which article this is, because it's important. It's number 3 in the outline. It's called, is it Texas megachurch pastor resigns amid allegations he sexually abused a minor. It's not so much, I don't know if it's even up for debate. I don't think he's debating it. Yeah, this is he's admitted it. Yeah, he has. But, and basically their line, this always happens, because I've said this many times. I was essayed at a church in, youth group, and they always gaslight you, like if you say anything about it or you talk, and that's what they basically did. Like the church, the board is saying, oh, well, we didn't know she was 12. Okay, we're talking about in 1984, this man, Robert Morris, was like, a pastor that goes from church to church and gets paid speaking fees. And he was at a church called Shady Grove. I kid you not.
Come on.
So yeah, the church is called Shady Grove. And he was staying with, while he's working there temporarily, staying with a family who had a 12-year-old daughter. Okay. And creepiness ensues. Like, here, I want to read. It says, and this is what the elders of the church are saying. Regretfully, before Friday, June 14th, the elders did not have all the facts of the inappropriate relationship between Morris and the victim, including her age at the time and the length of the abuse. Adding that elders had known about an extramarital relationship, but thought it was with a, quote, young lady. And this woman completely disputes that, right? Because this huge, very profitable conglomerate of churches called Gateway Church or whatever, it was created in 2000, and he was named the head pastor. And this woman is saying, like, I told them. I told them what he did to me. I told them who he was. I told them how long it went on for. I told them how old I was. And now they're just like, oh, and this is what they do, right? If you've ever been to a church where SA allegations come out, that's always what they go to. Oh, well, we thought it was just an affair. That's always what they say first. Is like, it's an extramarital affair. It's an indiscretion. Like, this has happened at a church I was at, and they said the same exact thing. And then they said, for the sake of the victim, we are thankful this situation has been exposed. Well, she's saying she told you in early 2000, and you guys chose to do
twice.
Nothing about
2007.
Oh, and I have actually I recorded this morning when I was walking.
Do you think it's possible that maybe just they didn't have the 10 Commandments hanging up? Is that because that's probably the solution?
Yeah, exactly. Let me put the 10 Commandments up. You're right.
That'll take care of it.
That'll change it. That'll make it better. As long as we have if he had the 10 Commandments clearly visible, then
7.
maybe he would. I don't. Well, it's because it's for the larger screen. But if we,
One of the interesting things
adultery, about it does not say do not essay 12-year-olds when you're an old man. Maybe
I noticed that
was
in there. Conspicuously missing from the Lord's objectives early on. He was not super protective about women or children, right?
Exactly.
And again, there, don't commit adultery. That's what we got there.
Yeah,
I guess that's all encompassing.
It should. I guess we need to put in. They need some more, because like don't touch little children. Thou shalt not touch little children should have been one for these pastors. Here, I recorded. Like this is just a recording of the article playing because the most horrible part about this, like this guy, when Trump was. And I'm about to take you through a whole thread of who this guy is and who he knows. And let me just let you know, it's all the Republicans. It's all the MAGA Republicans hanging out with this guy. And why are these types of people always all together? And then we have to listen to people come on this show and say, "Oh, you guys are sexualizing children." No. Why don't you follow the actual evidence and decide which group of people are sexualizing children? And I just want to be clear, SA happens across the whole political spectrum, but the question is who deals with it appropriately.
And let's talk about, we get to hear all the time about Joe Biden sniffing people's hair, but you know what those very same people don't talk to us about? Roy Moore, or the accusations levied at Donald Trump by a 13-year-old girl. Well, or Matt Gaetz, or the like.
Oh, we'll get to him next.
I mean, we can't even count how many times people have been abused at church, or perhaps the president's #1 spiritual advisor,
It's time for the 11th commandment. Thou shalt stop essaying people.
That won't stop Republicans from only focusing on Joe Biden sniffing hair, which I think is already disgusting. That you guys do that. I think it's one of the most fucked up things that you guys have ever done. To accuse somebody without evidence of that type of crime is absolutely abhorrent, especially when, like, this. How many more people? Donald Trump endorsed Roy Moore knowing what he had done. This was Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. These accusations were known in 2005 and 2007. Like, you guys are the ones that consistently turn a blind eye to children being abused.
Constantly. Yeah, and that's the question. Like, truly, like, let's look for the evidence. I agree. And if you want to come up and talk about sniffing kids, which, by the way, as someone who doesn't have a child, I think every parent in here knows they smell their kid, because that's what everyone tells me. Why do so many parents tell me, like, "Oh, my kid, baby smells so good"? Like, it's not because it's creepy. It's because it's just because
everybody that's in a relationship, the person you're with, you know their smell, right? It becomes part of it. It's pheromones.
The sense most related to memory. It's the sense most related to memory. That's why it's like Total Recall with smell.
And pheromones aren't just about like sexual attraction, right? Again, that's you guys over sexualizing thing. You know what else I know the difference of? I could be blindfolded and you could bring me both of my dogs who are the same. They are the same breed from the same litter, and they have 2 different smells. I could tell you the difference between the smells of the dogs, right? Like, this is what we do. We attach our senses to things. And so it's honestly not, it's not unusual to smell somebody that you love, or to, in a lot of cases, what they said he was doing was smelling them when he's kissing them on the top of the head, which is exactly what I did with my nieces and nephews, right? It's appropriate touch. It's comfortable for them. Kids don't want to be kissed on the face, right? But you give them a little kiss on the top of the head. It's like that's kind of how you handle the situation. It really, I have a hard time not getting really upset when people bring this shit up. But like the amount, I read something. It was I forget the guy that was in Silicon Valley. I think he's from India. I can't remember, maybe Pakistan. I forget, Kamjal. I don't know how to say his last name. He's anyways, he had a tweet and he said, "I was raised by a father who I saw cry all the time. I was raised by a father who was physically affectionate with me all the time. And so I've been able to recognize that that's okay to have those feelings, to be physically affectionate with my children, with my father, with my relatives, to cry, to show those emotions." When you see somebody acting like Joe Biden and giving love to children,
touch.
traveling to what's his home state again? Delaware to meet his son who just was convicted of a crime, just to give him a hug. He flew all the way there just to give his kids a hug. And you guys want to convince me that's a bad person. When was the last time you saw Donald Trump hugging his kids, especially his sons?
Touch them. Yeah. Well, and I grew up in a house like that, and I can tell you what it leads to. Like, I have my parents still to this day, and actually I have a better relationship today with my parents than I've ever had in my life, but there's no touch, right? As a child, I had no idea what healthy touch was. I wasn't hugged. You need that. Like, again, Republicans don't read or know anything about psychology, but if you're not shown healthy touch, you end up with a disordered brain. And what the other really unfortunate thing that happens is if you're not getting healthy touch from adults, hugs, kisses, whatever at home, then you seek it out other places, or not seek it out, but when it comes to you, which is what happened to me at an evangelical church, I didn't know what healthy touch was because I had never gotten any. I had never gotten a hug. So when a children's pastor or whatever he was, I don't even know, like some guy who was in charge of us at a church of children started touching me, I was like, oh, like, I'm special. He cares about me, like whatever. And if I had learned at a different age from at home what healthy touch was and love, then I would have known the difference. So like when you sit there and say like, oh, it's creepy, like to sniff kids or whatever, no, it's actually absolutely not. But what is wrong is if you grew up in a household where you were never given healthy touch, you were abused. Neglect is just as much abuse as aggression, as paying the wrong kind of attention. Physical aggression. Neglect is very damaging to a child.
Yeah, I would just argue as somebody who's raised similarly. I would just say that like somebody not being a parent not being affectionate is more of a red flag to me. Like I'm concerned about a parent who's not affectionate. If I saw my daughter's her friends' parents and they were not affectionate at all with their kids, like I would be a little, that would raise a red flag for me. Not to say that like you're inherently bad if you don't do that, but when I see somebody who gives their kid a hug, gives their kid a kiss on the forehead, tells them they love them, like that's not a red flag. And again, like that's the over sexualization of the right, and it honestly like infuriates me with Joe Biden. Maybe more than anything, because this is so obviously a loving parent and a decent human being. It's so transparent, so much so that like this guy will sit for interviews. He'll get investigated. He doesn't stand in the way. He's not standing in the way of his son's prosecution. He's not going to pardon his son. Like he's so obviously a good person that it infuriates me to hear people smear him for the stuff that like Trump did. If there was a note that said like Joe Budden, if you guys know who Joe Budden is on the Epstein logs, right? Yeah. If Joe Budden was on the Epstein logs, or you guys would say, oh, that's Joe Biden. If there was one single picture of Joe Biden with Jeffrey Epstein, you guys would lose it. But the fact that Donald Trump went to Epstein Island, the fact that Donald Trump flew on that plane, the fact that there's pictures of Donald Trump with two of his kids next to Epstein, like you don't care about any of that. Your morality, like your compass, your moral compass, your scent, it's all fucking wrong. You're all off. Every one of you. There's an actual sexual predator who is an adjudicated sexual predator, and you're going to vote for him while simultaneously taking a obviously good and decent and caring parent, and you're going to smear that person. That's what pisses me off, maybe more than anything. Fine, if you want to believe like in QAnon, you want to believe the election's stolen, we can get through that. But this behavior is disgusting, especially coming from two people who like have gone through this and recognize like the importance of being taught good touch, bad touch, the importance of, or at least the repercussions of not having affection as a child. Like this is clearly a man who has done everything in his power to show his kids that he loves them, and he's a loving, good, decent parent, and it drives me absolutely insane to hear people talk about him that way.
And also I just and it not moving away from parent to child, like understand that the patriarchy has damaged men, right? Bell Hooks says the first victims of the patriarchy are men, right? And then they victimize others, but not having healthy touch man to man, right? Like if you try to hug your friend, then being like, oh, that's gay, right? Like this is damaging men, not being able to process emotions. All of this stuff is only hurting them. It's okay. It's okay
limiting.
to touch. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's extremely limiting. Yeah.
Poisonous. So I just want to play this part of this article. I just recorded the AI reading the article because I just like the part about Trump's involvement Robert Morris, the pastor from Gateway, his involvement with the Trump campaign and Republicans.
Submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church for comment Tuesday night.
Oh, sorry.
The law firm hired by the board to investigate the alleged abuses, Haynes and Boone, confirmed it has been engaged to conduct an independent investigation. Morris didn't reply to a request for comment, but he has told the Christian Post that in his early 20s, he was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home I was staying. Morris said there was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. Morris said he confessed and repented in 1987. Submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father, and was advised to take a break from the ministry. He returned in 1989, he said, with their blessing. Clemeshire's allegations first emerged on the religious blog Wartburg Watch on Friday. Afterward, she also described the alleged abuse to the Dallas Morning News, saying that Morris was a close family friend and a traveling preacher when he stayed at her home in 1982. On Christmas night that year, Morris invited her to his room, she told the paper. After asking her to lie down on her back, he allegedly touched her inappropriately and warned her against reporting the event. She said the abuse continued for 4.5 years. Morris would go on to found Gateway Church in the Dallas area in 2000, starting with 30 members and growing the ministry to an evangelistic church with about a dozen locations and more than 100,000 attending each weekend.
That's right.
According to the church's website. Morris was among a group of evangelical pastors and leaders who served on an unofficial faith advisory group for the Trump administration. The group, whose members fluctuated, would come to the White House for briefings and pose with Trump for photos. While their actual influence on policy wasn't clear, the public images were powerful for conservative Christians who had felt unseen by previous presidents. Trump was among a roundtable of top White House officials in 2020 at Gateway, where he called Morris and another church leader great people with a great reputation. Michelle Borstein contributed to this report.
Yeah, he went to Gateway Church in 2020, right? She tried to report this abuse in early 2000 to these people, and Trump's there. And don't worry, I've got some things to show you.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, during that time, and there were many of us that were like, how do these evangelicals look past all of Trump's shit, like, and think that he's an evangelical? Because they look past each other's shit, right? They look past this. What do you think Morris was thinking when Donald Trump was accused of these things, right? What does Morris desperately want? He doesn't want that information to get out, and he wants people to forgive him.
Yeah, he has leverage.
He wants people to forget about it. So he doesn't see Donald Trump as somebody who has come to Christ. He sees somebody who's done the same type of shit that he's done. And he sees, and he recognizes, maybe without even understanding what he recognizes, he sees Donald Trump using Christianity as a protection in the same way that Morris did. Like this is their disguise. They hide behind their Christianity. And that's the scary thing about religion, is that these people gave Trump credibility, and they never should have had any credibility. When you have it says 100,000 people attending each weekend, and maybe you have information on this, and I'm jumping the gun, and I apologize if I am. But if you have a church with 100,000 members, you have sex abuse. It's 100% of the time. A congregation with that many people, there is sexual abuse between some member of the clergy and children. Every time. Just statistically, that is true. And when you as a Christian, if you're here on the right and you're not an abuser, when you see these people defend Donald Trump, look who defended him. This is somebody who was abusing children, and he was used as a proof to you. Donald Trump put these people on camera and said, look, here's a picture with me and these obviously great men, and you guys bought it. You just fucking bought it. You didn't care that that information was out there. We didn't know. I guess nobody did. 2005, 2007, this was made clear to everybody. The church knew. They knew. They didn't say anything. Where's the church's culpability here when they see their pastor up there with Donald Trump and they know he's an abuser? Why don't they say anything? Oh, because it's better. It's better for Christianity. You don't want Christianity to be smeared by one person's actions.
That's what they tell you too, right? When they're just trying to keep you quiet. It's because this will be bad for Christianity.
I think the most disgusting part of all of this was the screenshots that I've seen over and over from women saying, this guy admitted it, he repented, he's a great pastor. The fuck are you talking about? You let an admitted abuser back in power? You out of your goddamn minds? Only in religion does this happen. You wouldn't do this for a teacher. You wouldn't do this for an employee. You wouldn't do this for a coach. You wouldn't do only in religion and politics can you do this. Specifically exactly. Right-wing politics.
And understand that abusers, they shelter each other. That's what you're saying. Why are all these abusers? Look at Matt Schlapp, the head of CPAC. That's another one. Did anything happen to him when it turns out that he's victimizing men in the Republican Party? And he was a known abuser of men that worked in the Republican Party on campaigns and things. And what's happened? Nothing. Donald Trump got closer to him, right? They band together and try and lie and legitimize each other.
Just how many more people have to surround Donald Trump that are abusing? That are abusing people. How many more do you guys need to see before you're willing to? Oh, well, maybe he's an abuser too. But no, you guys you're gonna keep talking about Joe Biden and keep talking about Joe Biden. Zero. One accusation against Joe Biden. One. From whatever her name is, and it was and that accusation was that she didn't want to be touched. It wasn't.
It's this.
Right. It wasn't that she was. They didn't grab her by the P word. They didn't. He didn't move into a dressing room with her and take advantage of her. He wasn't walking in backstage when teenagers were dressing. Right. None of those things happened. She said unwanted touch, which is fair. If that happened. Absolutely, Joe Biden deserves to be criticized for that. But you guys take that and you don't look at this. It makes absolutely no sense. Ask, where are your morals? There's a reason the box is empty right now. There's a reason the box has been empty for a while. There's nobody that's going to come up and defend this. But it also won't change your vote. And that's what fucks with me. How does this not change your vote? It's one thing if Donald Trump's out there today and tomorrow doing the same shit we did. It's one thing if Donald Trump is out there at his rally tonight and being like, this piece of shit fooled me, and I'm mad about it, and I can't believe this happened, and this piece of shit should never be relied on for advice ever again. But he's not. He's just ignoring it. He's just pretending it didn't happen, and you guys are doing it with him. This is why people keep getting abused. This is why systemic abuse happens, because when it happens and it's people that you're voting for, you don't give a fuck. When it happens and it's people that you go to church with, you don't give a fuck because you think your MAGA movement and your Christian church are more important than a child being abused. This is why we have a problem with you guys. I don't give it, stop telling me about your religion. Stop telling me about your beliefs. Stop talking to me about drag shows and about trans kids until you guys start protecting children. Shut the fuck up forever. Don't talk about children anymore. They're not safe with you. MAGA is a danger to children. I don't want to hear anything else until you guys stand up against these people.
They have to hold them all accountable. I mean, it's literally pervasive. And what's important to note also, because again, Republicans don't read and they're light on facts, is that Three PDOs, like that situation, that is an orientation, right? Like there's this belief that, let's say, a pastor or like Matt Schlapp, for instance, he's abusing men, but that's because he's gay. Well, that's a bad example, because actually I take that back. He was doing that to a full-grown adult. So let's talk about a pastor abusing a child, right? When you're talking about a prepubescent.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I was mixing up Matt Schlapp and he's not the one that was married to the Moms for Liberty one, right?
Oh, no.
I was thinking of that guy. So yeah,
no.
sorry.
Oh yeah, that's a different. The Zieglers or whatever.
I was thinking like there wasn't.
That's a different situation. That's a different, very awful situation. But yeah, like let's say when it's a pastor and a child, like a prepubescent child, that's not homosexuality, and that's where this gets off, is them saying, oh, like let's take the Catholic Church and priests, like that's not latent homosexuality. That's homosexuals are not predators, right? Like pedophilia is its own orientation. These children are prepubescent. Like it's important to understand the difference and the facts around this, but they don't. They just want to say that somehow this has to do with the LGBTQ community, which it does not.
And that maybe is like the worst part. There is a solution to this. Like there is a solution to getting better, and it's stopping the abuse, right? It's real consequences. Most of the time, the abusers have been abused. It's a cycle, and then they're going to abuse people, and then those victims become abusers too, right? That's what happens most of the time. So we have to stop the cycle of abuse, but you guys just keep looking the other way. Every goddamn time you look the other way, and you're so easily distracted. Oh my God, there's kids wearing kitty ears in a Utah school. In the same Utah school that had a teacher that was thrown in jail for having relationships with a 14-year-old girl, or relations, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the right words. I hate saying relations because that sounds consensual. I hate that, but you know what I mean. Like that was the major story. The national story was there were kids that were dressed up like cats. The national story wasn't that a teacher was taken down. No, that wasn't even a big story. How is it that kids dressing like cats is a bigger story than a teacher abusing children? How the fuck does that happen? It happens because of you, MAGA, because you don't care about this. You don't make a big enough deal about this. And most importantly, you don't hold anybody accountable for their actions. As long as they say MAGA, it's fine. You're too afraid to lose elections to lose P3DOs. You'll just keep them in the party because you need to win elections.
And yeah, and it starts there, that it's pervasive in other types of SA, which is, and it's men and women. It's disgusting. But I think now we should go through. I just wanted to show this thread that, again, Patriot Takes made this on X. And so, and number 17 on the bottom of this section, you could just put it in. That's a video with a clip with more information about this. I think we kind of covered it all, but that's just a local Texas station talking about more about these allegations, if you want to hear more about it. And then this is just a thread. Like, again, this is a man who intimately knows the Trump family, the Trump organization, has been to the White House. Trump has been to his church, and is also involved. It's not just Trump, with other members of the Republican Party. Here he is with Don Jr. Here he is with good old Eric Trump. This is this is Greg Steube or whatever. He's the worst of the worst.
Yeah. Notice
that's
how he's
Robert Morris, his wife Debbie, and Florida GOP rep Greg Steube. Is it Steube? I think it is. And his wife Jennifer.
Yeah.
They go to lunch and dinner together. Like, here, this again, is he pictured with people on the left? Why are these people always together?
And how are you married to a person who abuses children?
Yeah, and she's not leaving him either, because God told her not to.
Divorce is the real crime, right? That's the real crime.
It really is. We need to end no-fault divorce. Here he is again with Greg Steube. Enjoy dinner with U.S. Congressman. This is all from his Instagram. This is on the gram. Robert Morris who victimizes 12-year-olds on the gram, enjoyed dinner with U.S. Congressman Greg Steube and his wife Jennifer. Let's continue to pray for all our elected officials. How about we pray for the 12-year-olds?
No, because then that would mean acknowledging that there's a problem. So you can't even pray for these things because that's acknowledging that it happens. You can't even discuss it. That's the real problem that MAGA has. You guys can't discuss the problem that you have within your movement because it looks bad on your movement. So you just ignore it. It's the same thing with these Christian churches. Same thing with the Mormon church. Like nobody. I mean, Mormon church might have had more abuse cases than the Catholic church because they were funding the Boy Scouts. Most of those Boy Scouts cases, like 60 to 70% of those Boy Scouts cases were actually Mormons. Like, if you guys don't know this, but when you're Mormon, it doesn't happen anymore. I'll tell you this story. This is crazy. So when the Boy Scouts basically ran the youth program for boys in the Mormon church. So on like my church on Wednesday, we had activity night, but it was Scouts. It was Boy Scouts, and the Mormon church heavily subsidized the Boy Scouts. Now, when all these stories came out about all these abuse stories, the Mormon church stayed pretty quiet, but they stuck with the Boy Scouts. They're like, yeah, we're still going to do this. But you know when they changed? When the Boy Scouts said they were going to allow gay leaders. And what did they say? They're like, well, we got to protect the children. We got to protect these boys from these gay leaders. Well, where were you
It's disgusting.
You didn't care when children were actually abused. You did nothing. When there was gay people involved, you made up things that hadn't happened. You made up a scenario, like Felice said, like that the sexual orientation is not like attracted to kids, right? It's not the same thing. That's not what being gay is. That's when the Mormon church said we're not working with the Boy Scouts anymore, and they did it on the basis of we're going to protect children. It doesn't make sense, but that was their out, right? Like gay people, oh, that's a bridge too far, but actually like abusing children, yeah, we'll stick around. Like it's not the church's fault.
And again, Drew, what you said in the comments is disgusting. If you want to come up here and talk about it, you can. But what we're talking about is political parties and their affiliation with 3POs. Okay? Not about Harvey Weinstein and people in pictures. Like, what are you... You understand why they're different, don't you, Drew? You get it, right?
How many pictures are there of Trump?
This is an
Epstein?
Evangelical pastor who was working on a committee for the Trump administration. This is him at Trump's inauguration.
This is a person who is telling you that the biggest danger to your children is the LGBTQ community, and it's fucking him. He's far more dangerous to your children than the LGBTQ movement. Far more. And for a lot of other reasons. If you guys haven't seen Abducted in Plain Sight, it's horrific, but I highly recommend it. When you are in a cult or in a religion and a religious leader does something, you try not to see it, right? Like you go out of your way not to see things. You just put it on your, we called it our shelf. You just put it on the shelf and you're just like, I'll address that one later on. But like that's the actual danger to children. And he's out there saying like, oh, the LGBTQ community is the real danger to children. Can you imagine that? You imagine that? Imagine that he abused your kid, and then you had like another kid who was in the LGBTQ community, and he's out there saying like, your other kid is the real danger. And like, yeah, you abused my kid. What are you talking about?
And just to be clear, like it's important to say, like SA of any type, whether it's adult to adult, adult to child, it's not okay, right? Like what Harvey Weinstein did is not okay. That's why he needed to be tried, right? The statute of limit, like what New York did is great. Give people a time to let, you have a year. If you have claims that are in the, statute of limitations ended, do something about it. Like every state should be doing that. We should hold everybody accountable in whatever way they can. And this is a pattern of behavior, right? Like to say, like you said, those people on Twitter who are like, oh, he repented and God forgave him and I support him. No, this is a pattern of behavior that you need ongoing treatment for.
You know what none of those Democrats pictured with Harvey Weinstein did after he got caught? defend him.
That's
You know what
point,
they didn't call him to be a spiritual advisor. They didn't hold him up as somebody who was like the moral authority. Again, like we've all had probably I have lots of friends who have disappointed me. I have friends who have done horrific things, and I disavowed them. Right? That happens. You don't always know who a person is when you're around them. And I don't think people should be held accountable for being around this person when they didn't know. The problem I have is now they know. And he's still around. That's the problem I have. I don't see Harvey Weinstein at Hollywood parties. I don't see people posting selfies with Harvey Weinstein. That's the difference, Drew. We're not upset that people didn't know about this guy. We're upset that they know and they keep propping him up.
Yeah, every time a credible essay allegation, you guys are about to elect an adjudicated rapist, in the words of Judge Kaplan. Like, Trump's an adjudicated rapist. That's what the judge said. And by the common definition of the word, and you guys are going to elect him. Now you know who he is. Our justice system has showed you who he is, and you guys say, nope, never mind. So what you're doing is you're continuing the cycle of abuse. You're rubber stamping it. You're saying, yes, let's prop him up, protect him, and allow him to continue on.
There's a word for that. It's called complicit. You're complicit in this. If you know that there's an abuser and you put an abuser in a position of power, you are complicit. So it's a shitty thing about life sometimes. Sometimes we wind up being around people who have done shitty things. And it's hard to abandon friends or family who have done shitty things. But if you don't sound the alarm, if you don't do everything in your power to make sure that they can't abuse again, you're complicit. And that's what the Republicans are. You guys are complicit in an enormous amount of abuse between the churches, between the Matt Gaetz, the Donald Trumps, the Roy Moores, this douchebag. Like, yeah, you guys are complicit. That's the part I don't get. Like, how do you look in the mirror and be like, yeah, this is fine? I know how. You lie to yourself.
Look what the Christian church has become. Like, Matt Schlapp is out victimizing men. And instead of holding him accountable, you guys prop him up even more, give him more money, say, no matter what you do, no matter what allegations come out about you, we're going to defend you. That's open season. He can do whatever he wants now. You've given these men a scenario in which they can commit any crimes they want, essay whoever they want, and you guys will turn a blind eye to it. You are proliferating abuse.
I think this is why I wind up getting so angry about this is.
But Ten Commandments.
Yeah, if this was any other organization, it would be shut down completely. The place your children are most likely to be abused outside of their own home is at church or church functions, and yet we keep these churches afloat. We give them tax breaks. We give them cover. We shield them from litigation. Why? Because people believe. Right? This is imaginary. For all you folks who think like being trans is imaginary, right? And you just get to be, you guys believe in imaginary things, and it offers you protections. And the protections that some of you get is that you abuse children and nothing really happens. But heaven forbid a trans person be able to just be treated like everybody else. Heaven forbid somebody who is trans gets to, and again, I'm not saying that this is a belief. I'm not saying
to
trans
self-actualize
people aren't who they are.
Just like you want to.
But your argument is that they aren't who they say they are, and therefore they're not valid. But you guys believe in something that there's no proof of, and it is used as cover to abuse people all over the country. Hundreds of thousands, probably millions of abuse victims at the hands of churches. And you guys,
and the churches have aligned themselves with the Republican Party. They are now in bed together, shielding each other, propping each other up, legitimizing each other. Where you can't tell where the Republican Party stops and the Christian church begins any longer. Like, this is your legacy that you're voting for. Congratulations.
In Utah, if a child goes to a therapist and says that they were abused and they name the abuser, that therapist is a mandatory reporter. A teacher is a mandatory reporter. You know who's not? Religious leaders. If you go to your bishop and you report abuse, you are not, that bishop is not a mandatory reporter. Who the fuck do you think lobbied the Utah legislature for that? The church. Why did they lobby the legislature for that? They didn't want to be sued. They didn't want their name dragged through. They didn't want their name attached to abuse. Rather than fix the problem, they went in and they changed the legislation so they couldn't be held accountable. There is no group in this country that is held
Praise
less
the Lord.
account for their actions than churches. Our country would be a significantly better place without churches. And I'm not trying, no disrespect to anybody who goes to church. If you go, that's fine. But I hope you speak out. And I hope that if this happened at your church, you wouldn't allow it.
If they tried to gaslight and gloss over it, you would leave, right? Like, or at that point, you know, there's a fork in the road and you become complicit. Like that's the reality, and that's the Republican Party is complicit and helping to cover up through legislation all of this abuse. So yeah, let's see where else Robert Morris has been, shall we? Oh yeah, this is him at the inauguration again.
I run to the bathroom real fast.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, who do we have here? Greg Abbott, another fine, upstanding man here with Robert Morris. Just someone you get has gerrymandered is never going to leave office. Isn't that great? This guy, Creepy Creeperton, has the protection of the king of Texas, I like to call him, because that's basically what southern states are now, is fiefdoms that have absolute power and are trying. Texas is another one. Someone said in the comments, which is very true, trying to get the 10 Commandments in schools. Utah, I'm trying to think. Utah has some like weird loophole about it. I was reading it. Like it's quite interesting, like how they're doing it. But yeah, there he is. There's Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. Oh, it's Cancun Cruz. Lion Ted. Here we go. Lion Ted. Debbie and I enjoyed meeting with Senator Ted Cruz last week. Let's all continue to pray for our country. We should pray for the 12-year-olds is who we should be praying for. Cancun Cruz needs to go.
Oh, shit, he's friends with Ted Cruz?
Yeah, you missed Greg Abbott.
Greg Abbott's there too? Shocker.
Yeah, so and Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz would be some of the most powerful people in the state where he is abusing 12-year-olds. Are they going to hold him accountable or continue being complicit in a cover-up? What do you think?
Where's that, just real quick, Drew, if you're still here, where's that logic of, look how many pictures there are of, who's not in a picture with this guy?
It gets
Where's
better.
that energy? Where's that energy, Drew?
Oh, there's Tim Scott.
Oh, shit. Shocker.
There's Tim I got engaged to hopefully become vice president. Saw my friend U.S. Senator Tim Scott in Florida. Let's continue to pray for all our leaders. Would you be pretty confident in abusing children? Would you be pretty confident in abusing children if these were your friends? Would you be pretty confident you could kill an investigation? I wonder why he's doing this. And one of the things the woman said, who's talking, who unfortunately had to suffer this abuse when she was 12, she said, I know there's other victims out there, and she's basically saying like, now's the time to come forward and tell your story of what this man did to you. And I'm very interested to see, because again, this is a pattern of behavior. You're not like, oh, I need to quickly get it out of my system, diddling, touching 12-year-olds. Oh, it's out of my system. Praise the Lord. I've repented. Her dad forgave me. I'm just going to go on my merry way. Like this, think how many years, what are we at? Like 40 years between 1984? Was that the first time? Probably not. But we've had 40 years and U.S. senators and governors and presidents on this guy's speed dial.
It's, if I look back just on the people that I associated with, specifically adults, every single person that ever was an abuser that I knew of that was an abuser spoke relentlessly about their faith, talked open, like the strict adherence that they had, like this scrupulous exterior of like, oh, this person does no wrong, they are all in on the church. And why? I do think that, like, internally, I think these people for sure need therapy, but what they're doing is they're trying to overcome what they did by, like, just adhering more strictly to their beliefs. Problem is that doesn't fix your problem. Like, you can read one of the things that's interesting with, like, scrupulosity, which is basically just like that you become obsessed with being, like, extra adherent to the rules. One of the things that, like, the cycles that you get when you're in a high demand religion is when you break the rule, you feel awful. And a lot of times in these high demand religions, then you have to go confess it. But because that what you did is so forbidden, and in often cases, that's something simple like masturbating, right? Or, like, for me, like, if I we called it heavy petting. Was that, people say that outside of Mormonism?
This is confess. This is
I'll tell you guys, like, this is what happened to me. After I was a missionary, and I had been home for a while, I had sex, and I went and I had to tell my bishop, and I had to tell my bishop the details of me having sex, like, in detail. And then he said, because
they're creepy.
And because I had been a missionary and I had gone through the temple, he said this requires a disciplinary council. So then I had to go a couple weeks later and confess the exact same thing in front of a panel of 12 men. And those 12 men also asked me detailed questions about, like, what I had done specifically. Then I had to go out of the room, sit outside in the hall while they sat around and discussed what my punishment would be. Then I came back in. They told me what my punishment would be. They said I would get a letter, and then I had to meet with my bishop once a week, every single week. And I had to report back to him. Like, he would ask me, like, have you masturbated? Have you had impure thoughts? Right? And what that does then is it creates, because here's the thing, sex is cool and it feels good and it's fun. And so you have this thing that you love, and you have on the opposite side them saying the very thing that you enjoyed is the worst possible thing for you. So it treats itself the same way people when they relapse. Like, this is a normal phenomenon for somebody in the Mormon church is like, you have sex, you go through the repentance process, eventually you slip up, and then you're just like, all right, I'm going all in, because you know eventually you're going to have to confess again. So you go on, like, a sex bender, right? And then that creates unhealthy relationships with sex. But that type of conditioning, that type of I'll just say it's abuse. Like, that's what keeps people in the cult, and it keeps people from recognizing that they are being abused. Right? Somebody said, how do I get caught? I didn't get caught. I just went and I confessed.
They confess. You just don't understand.
The guilt you have is overwhelming. When I went to the temple, I promised that I wouldn't do any of those things. And I gave an oath that I would, you do hand signals, that you would cut out your tongue or rip out your guts. Essentially, if you break any of the rules, you'll be died. Or you'll be died. Yeah, died. Unalived is what I wanted to say.
Stop conjugating verbs.
And there's scripture like, it's better for you to unalive yourself than to keep doing that, right? So
I think I grew up in crazy evangelicalism, but at least moving to Idaho and Utah. I lived in southern Idaho, like, for university, and so you're in it's the same place, southern Idaho and Utah, or same exact place. Like, quite literally, like, I flew into the Salt Lake airport, like, I spent summers in Salt Lake, so, like, I came from crazy borderline Pentecostal type evangelicalism, mom speaking in tongues, all the things, and purity rings. But I was shocked what it was like in Idaho and Utah, like the oppression and the guilt. Because I moved there at 18. The same thing happened to I played volleyball at university, to one of my teammates with masturbation. She had to go confess it to the bishop. Now imagine, this is an 18-year-old child describing and the creepy bishop, who I'll tell you, I almost fought him one time, like because of the things he was doing to people on my team. He was a creep. I mean, you tell me if this is creepy. Having an 18-year-old girl alone in the room with a 56-year-old man while she describes masturbation, and he asked detailed questions about it. Is that creepy? Then he said that, like, because I lived with a few of my teammates who were Mormon for like a summer, and during this period he went to my coach and said that I was a bad influence on my teammates because I was telling them that it was okay,
Yeah,
just
that it was okay
random
not
truth.
to tell
It's okay not to describe to a creepy old man masturbation, and there's something wrong with that, and they were like, yeah, maybe there is something wrong with that. He showed up to our place, like this townhouse we were living in the summer for like summer training, and literally tried to take them out of the house. I'm like screaming, like, why are you going to make them describe more incidents of masturbation to you? Like, because I mean, this is, and the guilt that these women had. Well, we were children. I don't even know if I should say women, because like we were kids, and the way they were made to feel like they were doing something wrong was terrifying.
And just so you know, bishops' interviews start when you're 12 in the Mormon church.
Oh yeah,
you start having annual interviews or biannual interviews when you're 12. And they ask you, I mean, every bishop's different too. Like I had good bishops and bad bishops. I had bishops that I think, like, even though they didn't speak out against it, they kind of understood and they didn't ask those types of questions. But what's interesting is this finally became a national story. There was a bishop from Texas. I think I've told this story here before, but there was a bishop in Texas who had daughters. And once they were grown, they told her stories of a local bishop who had asked him those types of questions. And then he just kept looking into it more and more, and he realized this was like a pervasive problem in the Mormon church. So he, as a bishop, wrote a letter to the first presidency in Salt Lake and said, like, hey, we got to stop this. We can't be interviewing people behind closed doors with an adult and a child, asking detailed questions about their bodies. And he just didn't get a response. And they would not respond to him. He went on podcasts, they wouldn't respond. So finally he went to Salt Lake and he went on a hunger strike. And he sat in front of the church office buildings, I think for 7 days, just doing water, just to bring attention. And finally, there was so much attention that the church was forced to do something. And it was the most half-assed solution ever. Basically, they said, hey, if the kid wants their parent to be in the interview with them, they can. It's their choice. Right? That's all they came up with. And then what did they do? They excommunicated the man and smeared him in the news. They had all their media outlets go after this man, smeared him, and kicked him out of the church. All because he wanted to protect people from this. And this is what these churches do. Like, when they get caught, they go after the person who ratted them out. Does this sound familiar, MAGA? The people who turn against you, who call out your bullshit, what do? You run them out. And then you change it. If it's really a big deal, then you change it. But the greatest sin was not the bishops. The greatest sin was the man who brought attention to it. The bishops in this scenario, the bishop in that scenario, no punishment. Nothing. But the man who brought it to their attention, excommunicated. And that's why when we say MAGA operates like a cult, that's exactly what we're talking about. What happened to Mitt Romney, our Mormon and MAGA? What happened to him when he spoke out? Gone.
Allegations of SA come out. What do? Smear the person who, look at E. Jean Carroll.
Yeah.
Protect the rapist. Smear the victim. That's what you guys do. You guys are just like the church. That's why you can't tell where one begins and the other ends. Same playbook.
The only protection you have in either of those organizations is loyalty. It's the number one thing. That's the only thing that gets you protection. Loyalty. That's why we say it operates exactly like a cult, and it is a cult. It's because of the way that you handle whistleblowers.
That's another one. Look at the woman who spoke out against Kavanaugh. Isn't she even, she might have been a Republican too. And look what you guys did to her. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you say the truth out loud, the only way is to keep your head down and lie. Like, no one, but don't believe your lying eyes and ears.
We might never get MAGA in here again, and that's fine by me. Let me read a couple comments. We'll lighten the mood a little bit. Sully says, a cowboy rode into town on Friday. He stayed for 3 nights and rode out on Friday. How is this possible?
How?
I knew this.
Horse?
His horse's name is Friday.
Oh, I get it. I was like, look at this is
Michael,
oh, sorry.
Michael, I see that. I'm not going to read that. I apologize. I understand it was in good fun, but I think there will be some people who would not find that very funny. So, all right, that's it.
Yeah, this picture, it says from Robert Morris, we're on our way to the worship service at St. John's remember St. John, that's Trump's church, or his alleged church, with real Donald Trump and Mike Pence families. Like, this guy is, I have been asked to sign 2 Bibles, one that is being presented to Vice President Mike Pence and one that is being presented to President at real Donald Trump.
Boy, what a treasure. You get a Bible signed by
a creep
P3
to give it to a creep.
Yeah, congrats. That's great
cool. News. Yeah, that's great. Oh, Ben Carson, what do you know? All the usual suspects.
They're all here.
Suspects. Every single one.
Do we get this yet? Again, I don't think MAGA's here. Which is great. 1,100 people here, and it's not MAGA. Thank you guys so much for being here and for supporting. We appreciate it. But like, what is your organization, folks? What, you don't stand for anything. You just love Trump, and anybody who says I love Trump is welcome. Like, just think of the trash that is in your party, like the absolute trash that is in your party. This guy, Roy Moore, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. Like, how much?
We'll get to Matt Gaetz.
Donald Trump. Yeah, we're not even done. Yeah, exactly.
We're not even done with the creeps today. We have so many creeps to go through. This is, Ben Carson, by the way, came and spoke at Robert Morris's church in 2022. This is like not that long. This is 2022. Cool. We're all so excited. Oh, here he is with Franklin Graham. You know, Bill Graham's son. All the usual evangelical suspects all together. And,
Bill Graham, is that right?
Yeah, Franklin. Billy Graham's unalive.
Billy Graham. That's why it sounded wrong. Because you said Bill. Because I was like, it's not Billy, though. That's why.
I love that Super Nintendo controller. Yeah, and that's his son. And there he is again. They were there. It was awesome to gather with thousands of believers to pray for our nation. Pray for yourself and the 12-year-old you victimized, Robert Morris. It was an honor to have Franklin Graham with us tonight at Gateway. He had Franklin Graham at his church. Yeah, these people are. Oh, here's Trump himself. Good to have dinner at the White House for National Day of Prayer. Let's continue to pray for our nation.
Can you just imagine being, I forget what the victim's name was there, just her seeing this and seeing this man be elevated and seeing this man be like propped up. Just think of it that way. How would you feel if you were this person? And why don't we all feel the same as her? We should all have that same visceral reaction as she does. That this person is being propped up. And again, I'm just predicting the Republicans will be completely quiet about this. This story won't show up on Mods Live. SK is not going to cover this. You think this is going to be on any Republican Live? Do you think it's going to be on Fox? No, they're going to bury this story. Why? I'd have more respect for them if they're like, hey, this is a problem. We got to get it out of our party. But I think that you guys care way too much about winning. I think that MAGA only cares about winning, and so we're not going to hear about this. I would love to be wrong.
That's why they smear the people that speak out, right? Because the only goal is to further the organization, the cult, right? Like, that's what cults are about. Like, if you speak out against the Mormon religion, yeah, that's an attack, right? The only goal is to further the message of the Mormon church. So if you say, oh, there's some bad people and there's some people doing some weird stuff and there's some abusers in here, then that's a stain on the name of the Mormon church, and that's going to hurt their evangelical endeavors, which the point of Mormonism and things like evangelicalism is to spread it, right? They believe their whole like existence is about spreading the gospel.
Just crazy looking back. It's so crazy.
Oh, here's Greg Abbott again with and think this is the governor. He can just pardon. Greg Abbott loves to use that pardon. So we don't enjoyed being with Governor Greg Abbott and praying together for our nation. Sickening. Oh, Mike Huckabee, here we go. Not the former governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, not Mike Huckabee. I remember. Actually, I'll find the story. I want to quote it right, but yeah, there we go.
Oh, there's Mike Huckabee again. It was great to be with my good friend, Governor Mike Huckabee, on his show. Huckabee is on TBN. Ew. We talked about Gateway's prison campus. Gateway, like his church is doing prison outreach. Maybe you should go stay there. Maybe you should go stay there. November 20th, 2019.
Oh, so after 2007 then. After. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Got it.
Oh, here he is. It was an honor for me to pray at the inaugural prayer meeting. God heal our nation. No, it's so gross. Oh, and wait, who do we have here? Oh, this is a Texas state representative, Bill Zedler. Like this guy, do you see from the White House to the governor in Texas on down to the state house? Like who does this man not have in his pocket? Imagine, like, that woman is very brave for telling her story.
It would be a fun project that we definitely don't have time to do, but just like go through every picture with him and just start blowing up that person's office and saying like, what do you say about this guy? Like force them to actually take a position. They won't, but that'd be a fun. If anybody's really bored, might be a good idea.
This is another Texas state representative, Matt Krause. Oh, this is Jerry Falwell Jr. Oh,
the diversity on full display here, by the way.
This is crazy. I know. Look, it's amazing. Oh, so we have Tim Scott, Ben Carson, and one more. That's the best one. But Jerry Falwell Jr., of course he's in here. Remember? Oh, and Herschel Walker.
Got Herschel.
I'm sorry. Wait, do you guys remember? It was Jerry Falwell Jr., right? What he was up to? Like, wasn't he would like go to Miami and with his wife? Actually, and this is the most healthy thing. Like, can I just say that I'm not saying Jerry Falwell Jr. is a bad person. It's just in the evangelical religion, he's a bad person. Like, they were pretty much going to like Miami and like meeting up with men and having threesomes, right?
Yeah, I think it was like a pool boy situation. And he even wound up like starting a business with like Jerry Falwell's son.
He helped him start a business. Yeah. And he had a big but it's okay.
That's the guy you canceled though. That's the crazy thing. This guy lost his spot.
Yeah.
Right?
So imagine
why?
this is guys diddling 12-year-olds.
He let somebody else have sex with his wife. That's a problem. But all this abuse, not a problem.
Yeah.
It's just that he was
fetish.
A cuck
healthy
voyeur.
Fetish. Yeah, he's a cuck. Healthy fetish. That's healthy. We don't kink shame here. That's fine. Nothing is actually wrong with this. And then we got this guy over here. Like he got canceled. Make it make sense. Someone come up here and explain to me.
Why that's so okay. It's so backwards and it's so like
Jerry sat in the corner. He did too. He did too, like with some scotch or something. I remember.
He did what?
There's a documentary on this, by the way, and it's really good. If you want to like brush up on the Jerry Falwell Jr. situation, like the guy is interviewed in it and tells like the whole story.
I don't know if I've seen that. I should watch
it. Might be on Hulu or something. I don't know. I'm always watching documentaries, but yeah, if like the actual guy will tell the story.
And then that's the difference on the right and left. And it just goes to show like how programmed people are and how easily programmed people are to like, it's about shame, right? And it's about what other people think. And for these conservative men, the worst possible thing you could ever do is see your wife having sex with somebody else. Like that's the worst. And then I don't know what's next after that. I think probably being gay is next. I would imagine. Being maybe not liking sports. You got to go a long ways down before you get to abusing children. That's not a very cancelable
I know,
offense
you're
on
so
the right.
right. I never even thought about that. Sorry, oh, it's called compersion, I think. Okay, yeah, like when you take pleasure from like other people's pleasure or whatever, it's called like compersion. Like that's actually quite healthy sexual activity. Like to be able to deconstruct enough from the patriarchy to say like what I derive pleasure from watching my wife get pleasure with someone else is actually it's quite healthy.
It's kind of beautiful, right? Like you get pleasure from like you're happy when they're happy. That's kind of I know it sounds different, but that
child diddler, Robert Morris. Someone asked what his name is. His name's Robert Morris. But you know what I'm saying? Like this is who gets protected. The totally normal person, there's a problem with them.
Yeah, and if you don't know who he is, just go check the social media accounts of virtually every male Republican, and he'll be there. You'll find him. Just hugging.
Last night, Debbie and I saw War Room and met NFL great Herschel Walker. You need to go see this movie. No one wants to see any movies you're seeing.
Now, that is somebody who sexually abused children and somebody who abuses women together. And,
there we go.
Both
birds of a feather.
Yeah, both vocally endorsed by Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. It lies about. Oh my gosh! And the pro-lifer, right? This is a pro-lifer who's paid for more abortions.
That's right.
Than the federal government. But who's counting?
It's a bunch of Christians.
So big deal. Don't point out the hypocrisy. Now we have to talk about the next creep. It's Matt Gaetz time. Oh, and guys, keep tapping the screen. We appreciate you tapping the screen as much as possible. We do rely on your tips and donations to keep our show going. This is Cash App and Venmo. If you have a question, comment, concern, write it in there, and we will read it aloud on the show as long as it doesn't get us in trouble.
Correct. I'm checking no new messages. We're good. Let's talk about Matt Gaetz.
Oh my gosh, you guys. We can drop the backup actually because we don't need it for this. Okay, it is, what number is it? And credit to Political Mom, because I was reading about this in the Washington Post, and then she sent me this article, and I was like, this one's way better. You know, like, better information. Do you see where it is? Oh, there it is. It's 2. That's embarrassing. It's 2.
Do you do the same thing? Like, you start in the middle? I never start at the top.
That was really sad. Because
Like
I read, like, 6 through 10, like, 5 times, and then... Okay, so this is about, I need to change my background really quick. Hold on. Okay, this is about the ethics committee investigation that Matt Gaetz is going through, right? About sex trafficking. And for some reason, like the DOJ, right? Which this is another hypocrisy. The weaponized DOJ. No one asks why the case into Matt Gaetz was dropped suddenly and isn't proceeding. And one interesting thing I read in this article's an ABC News article. If anyone is not in the Discord and wants to look it up, it's called "Witness Tells Health Ethics Committee That Matt Gaetz Paid Her for Sex." Like, the DOJ was investigating this, right? It was suddenly dropped, no explanation. And one of the things that's stated in this article is that the ethics committee has repeatedly asked for the DOJ's files, and they won't give them up.
Well, weird. Shouldn't they hold him in contempt then?
Exactly. But I'm just saying. But like, do you ever hear MAGA being like, why did they kill the Matt Gaetz investigation? The DOJ is up to something. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
interestingly enough, like what MAGA has done with Matt Gaetz, this one is different than the other ones. They mostly just pretended it didn't exist. Nobody came to his defense. You have that John Wayne Lee Harvey Oswald Mullins saying
Mark
like,
Wayne Mullen. Well,
yeah, he's like, did you notice how nobody came to his defense? Yeah, like we know who he is. Nobody came to his defense, and that's true, except for Marge. I think Marge was there.
Well, no, he said, like, Mark Wayne Mullen went on the news. So did Kevin McCarthy and another guy. Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez went on Fox and was like, Matt Gaetz is
that was scathing.
is an essayer. Like, you know, we all know like what he's up to. Like everyone knows. And that's what I'm saying. This DOJ probe like just suddenly ended and they couldn't find any information. Well, this committee already has a witness. Like they were able from Venmo basically to subpoena Venmo records from like multiple people and then cross-reference and call people in who Matt Gaetz and one of these people like, and what's the guy's name?
One thing that I wondered,
Joel Greenberg.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Does this sound familiar? Yeah. Somebody committed a crime. A Republican committed a crime.
I told you this.
With some, no, I knew this forever. I've known the Matt Gaetz ones. A Republican commits a crime with somebody else, and that person goes to jail, and then Republicans are like, "Oh, our guy's not guilty."
No, I mean the Michael Cohen analogy. I said it to you in a text.
Yeah, well, that one was out of my own head, I think. Even if you did send it to me, that one I'll take my own credit for.
But yeah, this has happened before, is what we're saying, or after.
And Joel Greenberg has been right publicly has said this too about like everybody that knows Matt Gaetz has been like, yeah, this happened. Like everybody. There's
well, basically, and to be clear, Joel Greenberg pled guilty. Like this is so again, like Michael Cohen was tried for a crime that he was not committing for himself, right? He was doing it for somebody else. Joel Greenberg pled guilty to basically, I don't know, like Venmo pimping. Like, I don't know what the actual crime is called, but if I named it, that's what I would call it. Like Joel Greenberg would essentially round up women, and was known for this apparently, like in DC, to come to parties. A lot of times politicians would be there, but Joel Greenberg was a good friend of Matt Gaetz, you know, like they're friends. And then, and went through the investigation after they got all these Venmo records. They interviewed a bunch of women, and some said, yeah, well, I was paid by Joel Greenberg, but I was just paid like to be at the party. And then, and then some of them said different, you know, like the witness that's like, and yes, like this payment is specifically for sex. But yeah, so it was like, you know, that's what I'm saying. He would provide women essentially for powerful people in DC to have access to.
Is it, I might have this wrong, but isn't it also a crime to, even without any of that other stuff? This one I'm actually on, I may be wrong about this. I feel like I remembered hearing that because this girl was a minor, just the very fact that he trafficked her to another state, even if she did nothing, that in and of itself was, thank you, DJ Tony, that in and of itself is a crime. I don't know if that's true or not. Now,
once you cross state lines, and that it's a federal crime. Like that's one of the major, that was why the Matt Gaetz investigation started. Yeah, it's because if you cross state lines with a minor for any reason, and it's not good.
Yeah, Drake.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, see, there you go. That's a great example. Listen to this.
In case anybody didn't get, this was a Kendrick Lamar reference. GOP tried to strike a chord, but it was a minor.
Oh,
it was a Kendrick Lamar reference. If nobody got it,
I just got it right now.
There you go.
Okay, listen to this. So investigators have interviewed at least half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present and who were paid by Joel Greenberg, Gaetz's one-time close friend. Greenberg was sentenced in 2022 to 11 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to multiple charges, including sex trafficking a minor and introducing the minor to other adult men. So in the interviews, which have previously not been reported, some witnesses have shown Venmo payments they allegedly received from Gaetz and asked if those payments were for sexual activities, sources said. Some of the witnesses have been subpoenaed by the committee while others have agreed to cooperate. One woman, who ABC News is not identifying, told the committee that a payment from Gaetz was for sex, while others have said they were paid to attend parties that Gaetz also attended and that featured illicit substances and sex. Multiple sources told ABC News.
And again, let's say that's not true, okay? Because that's what Republicans are going to say, because you guys don't believe women, and we get it. Let's say that. Can you give me another reason why Matt Gaetz is paying a underage girl from out of state to come visit him What's
Can
a
I
reason?
can I tell you Matt Gaetz' reason that he said?
Yes, please.
Because it's like mind blowing. Listen to this. Gaetz has long denied all of the allegations, including paying for sex, and previously dismissed them, claiming someone is trying to recategorize my generosity to ex-girlfriends as something more untoward. Like, the Republican Party is disgusting.
Oh, yeah,
Hold
that's what it
somebody
was.
accountable. Hold somebody accountable.
Yeah, our bad, MAGA, our bad, Matt Gaetz. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't even consider his generosity. He's right about that. That's probably.
It's like, I just occasionally pay people like these. Just to be clear, these are people who are saying because Joel Greenberg, like, this is one of Gaetz's close friends. Well, he's in prison now, so, and I think Gaetz is trying to create some distance there. But
Which
were
is easy
thick
to
as
do
thieves.
when someone's in prison. It's easy to get away from them because they can't follow you. Yeah,
they were thick as thieves, like in DC, and Joel Greenberg has admitted to this, just like Michael Cohen did. Right? We have a guy in prison for a crime that he didn't really benefit from. I mean, I guess, maybe he got a cut. We don't know about that.
No, I think if I remember right, so he would pay, and then Matt Gaetz would pay him, and so that's how Matt Gaetz thought he was going to get around this. But then when Joel Greenberg was being investigated, they're like, wait, why'd you send this $300 to this woman? Wait, and why is there an exact $300 payment from Matt Gaetz on the same day? Why do all these numbers keep matching up to exact amounts that Matt Gaetz sent you? What happened here? And he's like, shit, and then he ratted him out.
That's exactly same thing that happened with Michael Cohen. Like, we've seen this story before.
Yeah. And anybody who has ever seen Matt Gaetz and looked at his face should not be surprised by this. This should come as no surprise for anybody who has ever looked upon Matt Gaetz. Of course, this is who he is.
And Matt Gaetz also, I'm just going to keep pointing this out until the Republicans stop acting like there's a problem with dressing in drag. Matt Gaetz is another one who has full makeup on every
Always.
day.
Definitely got some work done.
Oh, definitely. For sure. Botox, full makeup, Botox, the whole 9 yards.
When Ronnie Jackson came around, suddenly Matt Gaetz was able to lose a lot of weight when Ronnie Johnson. Ronnie Johnson. I keep screwing that up. Johnson. I know he changed. I don't want a dead name, Ronnie Jackson. I liked that joke. I liked my own joke on that. I apologize. I thought that was
good. That came
thank you.
Just that. Yeah, it was very organic too. Yeah, that's what's really good about it.
Suddenly, Matt Gaetz has been able to lose a lot of weight.
R.I.P. Ronnie Jackson.
R.I.P.
For real. And listen to this is a really good article. Everyone should read this article and send it to every Republican in your family. And then they don't care. They won't care. But so, however, and that's what I was going to say. And I was just double checking, and it's true. I think some of it. So, however, the committee has obtained, so they have Gaetz's Venmo records after issuing not just Joel Greenberg's. And again, they don't even have the DOJ's reports, or maybe they do on Joel Greenberg, but they don't have the reporting from the whatever the investigation that was done into Matt Gaetz. So it says they have attained Gaetz's Venmo records after issuing the company a subpoena. During the DOJ investigation into Gaetz, public reporting, including the Daily Beast, largely focused on Venmo records from Greenberg. Yeah, who, according to his plea agreement, used his account to pay for commercial sex acts with women he also introduced to others. The committee obtaining Gaetz's records, which ABC News has not seen, could help. Yeah. Okay, so they don't know they haven't seen them yet.
Let's not
I want to see his Venmo records.
All of this, but let's also not forget that multiple people in Congress have testified that Matt Gaetz on the floors of Congress showed them nude pictures of women that he had slept with, which I'm pretty sure that's a crime. I'm pretty sure, unless you've been authorized to share those pictures with people, I'm pretty sure that's a crime.
I don't think it's a crime.
I don't think you can do that.
Well, and I'll say this, like, this is what, so the reason that this article is coming out now is because Matt Gaetz posted, and I don't think I have a screenshot of it, but it's ridiculous. He posted this like whiny post on X, basically saying that he's a victim. This might sound familiar to some people, that he's a victim, that he hasn't done anything wrong, and that the ethics committee has actually closed the investigation, or like implied he had sort of like the investigation was over, and now they're investigating new things. And so the committee basically released this whole long letter, which, oh yeah, it's in the outline. It should be underneath number 2. And I put it in there for anyone that wants to.
I checked that in many cases, in many states, that is a crime. If you share intimate photos without permission with others, that is.
Well, I have a lot of people to report crimes against. is what I'm thinking right now. I'm very angry. Actually, I'm angry regardless. But so yeah. Wait, what was I just saying before you said that? I completely lost my... Oh, yeah, the ethics letter. So the ethics committee released a long, like, letter kind of as a public response to Gaetz saying, like, oh, now they're opening new investigations into me, which they are not. But I mean, so what they're saying is they've closed certain investigations. Like you're saying, what happened on the House floor, they said they're not going to pursue that anymore. But what they are continuing on, because of what there's evidence of, you know, a woman saying, yes, I was paid to have sex with Matt Gaetz. They're continuing, let's see. On Tuesday, House Ethics Committee provided an update on its investigation into Gaetz, detailing in a new statement on Tuesday that after speaking with over a dozen witnesses, issuing 25 subpoenas, and reviewing thousands of documents, the bipartisan panel will continue to review allegations, including that the Florida congressman, quote, engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, and that he, quote, sought to obstruct government investigations into his conduct. Oh, wait, I think I found the social media post. There's a link to it in this article.
Is this about the blackmail thing?
Oh, sorry. I have a new iPad and I haven't logged in. Oh, maybe I can log in quickly. I was going to just...
While you're pulling that up, let me read a couple comments while we get to that. Tanner says, Matt Gaetz appears to be the offspring of a toxic yet passionate love affair between a Ken doll and Satan.
That's actually not a bad...
He looks like one of Quagmire's kids. That's what he looks like to me. Britain, I read this wrong the first time I read it. I didn't. To buy you and Felice some greenies. That would be a great show. That would be.
Yeah, can you imagine?
We just would both talk the whole time over each other.
Never stop. That gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Kim says, the second worst thing an evangelical man can do is have a daughter who loses her virginity before marriage and people find out.
Oh,
I agree with that.
That is, we're talking about the list of like bad things that happen. That, oh yeah, that is up there for sure.
Yeah.
This is, or do you have more?
No, that was it.
Okay, so this is there's a link in the article to Matt Gaetz' post. This is what he posted. The House Ethics Committee has closed 4 probes into me, which emerged, probe is a weird word, which emerged from lies intended solely to smear me. No, Matt Gaetz, there's a lot of evidence. Instead of working with me to ban congressional stock trading, this is such BS, because like, yes, we want to ban congressional stock trading, and also you committed some crimes, Matt Gaetz, and the investigation is churning out.
This doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Both.
The ethics committee is now opening new frivolous investigations. And again, what they were saying was like, we're closing investigations, like the investigation that he was showing nude photos on the House floor. That's one of them. It's in the article somewhere, but a couple of things they're just saying we're done. Oh, I think that he illegally used campaign funds, and one more. So he says there's 4, so maybe there's 2 more, and I don't remember what they are. But yeah, so he's saying that they closed them, but what they are saying is we're continuing to investigate what we have evidence he did, which is illicit, sex and illicit drug use, and then what was and lying to Congress to cover it up. They are doing this, he says, the ethics committee is now opening new frivolous investigations. They are doing this to avoid the obvious fact that every investigation into me ends the same way. My exoneration. Like, this is Trump Jr., like authoritarian BS.
None of them ended that way. None of them exonerated you. In fact, all of them ended with, we don't quite have enough evidence. That's not exoneration. Republicans don't seem to know what that word means. Just like Trump wasn't exonerated with Russia.
They do not know.
Yeah, you're not exonerated when they just don't have quite enough evidence. There's a lot of evidence, Matt. You're not exonerated.
And then, listen, this is his next words. This is Soviet. Say what now? Like, what? Kevin McCarthy showed them the man, and they are now trying to find the crime. Oh my God, it's Donald. Like, somebody get Matt Gaetz.
Well, that one's fun too, because Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz are saying basically the same thing. McCarthy's saying, look, the reason I got run out is because they asked me to bury this and I wouldn't. And Matt Gaetz, in my opinion, is confirming that. He's saying this is McCarthy. Yeah. McCarthy's saying he wanted me to bury it. There's no evidence that McCarthy was the one pushing this. I've seen nobody say this is from McCarthy. The only thing we know is McCarthy claims he was asked to stop it by Gaetz and he didn't, and that's why he got ran out. That seems to check out. Color me shocked that today I would be like, yeah, I believe Kevin McCarthy. I didn't think I'd say that.
For sure, I know. In this one instance, definitely. And that's what he said, was like, from the beginning of the 15 rounds to make Kevin McCarthy speaker, that's what he was saying, like Matt Gaetz was saying to him behind closed doors, that he wanted. He wanted the ethics investigation to go away. And he says, I work for Northwest Floridians who won't be swayed by this nonsense. And McCarthy and his goons know it. Like, yeah, Daddy bought him a seat in the 1st District of Florida, which is gerrymandered within an inch of its life. So he is correct in saying, like, he's in a Marjorie Taylor Greene type seat, a Jim Jordan type seat. Yeah, like, MAGA, you guys prop these types of people up. You guys don't care about a little trafficking of minors. It's no big deal to you.
As long as he didn't go to a drag show, I think they're going to be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as none of these these people that he paid, not minors, but of all the people he paid, as long as none of those were men, he's fine.
Make it make sense. This was a good show.
Cindy says Matt Gaetz looks like Beavis and Butthead.
And I heard another one sometime of I can't remember what it is, but I remember thinking that's a good one. Yeah, and I feel like you see Matt Gaetz at different angles. He is symmetrical, which, if you know evolutionary, like, it's like primarily we seek symmetry in people's features, because I guess animals do too. It signals like healthy, like your offspring will be healthy. I don't know. He is symmetrical. His eyes are very deep set though.
Shout out to anybody who was trying to marry me. I'm not symmetrical.
You're not?
No, I have on one side of my body I have 2 nipples. On one side I have 1. So
just keep your shirt on.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to do that. Amber says,
is that genetic?
From Matt, I don't know.
Your kids
no.
Okay, well there you go.
For Madison Cawthorn, where is he now?
He pops up still. Madison Cawthorn has a house in Florida bought by some sort of unnamed, like, what do you call it? Like shell company owned by like a PAC from like, yeah. And
yeah, he's not
in Florida
done.
By Trump. He's in, like the cottage industry around Trump and MAGA. Yeah, he's very much involved in it. Like, yeah, Madison Cawthorn is he's still at it. Like, he's the same thing Kyle Rittenhouse is doing. That's what Madison Cawthorn, whatever you would say Kyle Rittenhouse's job is, Madison Cawthorn's doing the same thing.
Dustin says, healthy touch should be important for men. This is why I laughed. Earlier when we were talking about this stuff and everybody said my face was red, this is why. Because people kept posting the hashtag kiss your homies, and I thought that was hilarious. But it was in the middle of like a serious conversation, so then I was embarrassed that I laughed at that hashtag. So that's why my face was red.
No, that is a good, I agree too.
Yeah. Drew's here. Drew, we have a minute. Drew, if maybe Drew wants to make an apology. Drew, make it quick.
Something tells me that's not what it is.
What's up, Drew?
Hey guys.
Let me get the 10 Commandments up for you.
I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. What are you guys talking about?
They have to be posted. That's your party. These are your people, Drew.
It's not my party.
These are your people, Drew.
I don't belong to a cult on either side. Zero cults for me.
No, we're gonna keep assigning them to you until you prove otherwise.
I think I have that chair.
Do you? Yeah, it's like a fake guy in a round duck chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they sold it. I forget where the hell I got it. I think Target or something. I was just saying that all of these politicians are like prostitutes for anybody that has money, regardless of the things they do in their private life. That's all I was getting at. I think it's disgusting what happens with the church. I disavowed the church years ago when it first came out when I was a kid about the Catholic Church and moving around priests and covering all that up. There's no excuse for that, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, but I agree with that. Like they all are. I mean, a lot of times to the lobbyists, but like I think there's a stark difference between somebody who maybe wants to pay less taxes or drill more oil and a group of people that abuses children. I think like there's a stark difference. I think that's probably why you got the pushback. Is like it's fair to do the both sides thing on the lobbyists, but we're talking about a party who does nothing to people inside of their party when they abuse women and children. They do nothing. In fact, a lot of times it elevates in the same way that Trump being convicted of a crime elevated it for some people.
They say they're a victim.
Yeah, they turn them into the victim. Oh, the accusation, the person accusing them is not the victim. They're the actual victim. And that's where like we have a problem because
it's disgusting. And as far as Republicans being on the side of churches is the reason why I would never consider myself a Republican. I hate that. I hate everything about it. I hate the indoctrination of it. I hate all that stuff. I hate the pedophilia, obviously. I shouldn't have said that on live.
But Drew, you go around and defend the Republican Party. Like, okay, maybe you're not a registered Republican, but you defend Trump. You're Trump's
I defend on
loyal
both sides.
Soldier.
I am a loyal, independent person.
But Drew, specifically about women being SA'd, you are Trump's defender. That's one of your things.
Is it one of my things, you think?
Well, that's one of the first conversations I've heard. You know that you kind of made it your thing.
No. That was the thing that you guys do when an argument happens, then you go into the EG. That's old news. That's old news. I learned from that. You can't talk. You're not allowed to talk about that case.
Okay, so you recant.
No, wait.
Your
it's
terrible
not that you're not
position?
allowed to talk about those things.
No, you can't talk about
when you talk.
It's
that when you talk about them and you turn Donald Trump into the victim, that's when it's a problem. Like people should talk about that case.
Of all people, every single case that we talk about, you say, "Do you think you did it?" I say, "Yeah, I think you did it." My argument is, I think other people do these things too, and that's the only argument. I'm never arguing that Trump is innocent. Never, ever once have I.
But why? Why do you?
And I never ever said that he's, intelligent, says normal things, or anything like that.
But Drew, you understand that's literally you understand that's dismissive though, right? Like, no, not everybody does that. Other people have. Did Joe Biden do that? No. Did Obama? No. Did Bush? No. Even Bill Clinton, like he had accusations. They weren't even that significant. But Bill Clinton, nobody was out there like doing this. Oh, well, everybody does it. So therefore, yeah. Well, his were a lot of affairs. Agreed.
Debates, remember?
I agree, but it wasn't like people coming out saying, "Oh, everybody does it, so we're just going to ignore Bill." Like we're not doing that. We like you bring up the allegation against Joe Biden from I forget her name. Like we even discussed it.
Joe Biden said investigate it. Her voice should be heard. Yeah, he was the one that said it himself.
I just think Drew,
I don't know enough about Tara Reid, to be honest with you.
I
just think the knee-jerk reaction,
he didn't ask
Drew.
permission before he touched her.
Yeah, I think the knee-jerk reaction is what people get.
You know what my knee-jerk reaction is? It's the propaganda on both sides. I feel like I have to call out the bullshit on both sides.
But
because like there's another guy.
And you know who's the loser in your
another
thinking, Drew? So you can hang out in groups, in circles of pervasive patriarchy, and be accepted.
Hang out with anybody
No, that's
like
what you are. You're a coward. I'm just going to tell you, like, this is a coward stance to take. Drew, isn't the fence sharp from sitting on it for so long? Like, this is so you can go into circles of men who are steeped in patriarchy and be like, oh, Donald Trump's innocent, but see, I'm a both sides guy. Like, it's okay. I'm a both sides guy. Like, take a stand. And you know who's losing in your stance? Women and children. You have 4 daughters. Is that right?
I have 3 daughters.
Oh, well, yeah. 3 or 4 doesn't make a difference, Drew. You
Well,
have daughters who are going to be subjected to this.
Drew, one thing just to think about.
I'm not voting for Trump because of the judicial appointments. That's the reason why. Because of my kids. Because of the girls. There's probably other reasons why I should. The other day I heard something about his round table with CEOs, and they were saying that he wanted to deregulate antitrust laws. That's insane. That's insane for him to say that. Okay, so I'll call out the left, the right too. I think that's insane that he would say that. Why would you want to deregulate antitrust laws? So we have 3 places to get gas from, 3 places to get, that's insane.
What he's saying when he talks about deregulation. He's talking about deregulation for billionaires and corporations. It's terrifying. Yeah, that's why does MAGA think deregulation is going to help them?
Drew, could you give me an example of propaganda from the left? Just one example.
On TikTok or in general?
In general. Either way.
Okay, all right. So there's another live that somebody goes through their whole shtick about Ivanka Trump going back to the White House after the J6 rally, and saying that she pled with Trump to do something. Right?
Yeah.
That's not true. I actually read today the whole transcript. There's no truth in that whatsoever. Zero.
There's multiple people that said that she did. This is a he said she. That's not but that's not propaganda.
231 pages.
That's not propaganda because other people say that they heard her say that. That's just 2 people with different stories. That's not propaganda. Why do you believe her? No. Why are you saying it's not true just because
Is there a woman that Drew believes? I didn't think Drew believed women.
Yeah, we found him.
Because the person cites that it's from the congressional testimony of her. So I read the correct congressional testimony. And by no means
the creator cited that? Is that what you said? The creator cited that? Yes. Oh, okay. That's not propaganda. Yeah, that's not propaganda.
Yeah, just lies. Just lies.
Sure, that's we're getting a factor. But I'm talking about actual propaganda. Like the left does not engage. Like the Democrats are not engaged in propaganda. That is a lie. This is the problem I have with the both sides. Every time I get what you're trying to do. You don't want to be stuck on one side or the other. You want to have an open mind. And I think that what you do is you try and go tit for tat and say like, well, this side does this side does this. But I'm telling you, like, there's not propaganda coming out from the left. There just really isn't.
Bloodbath.
What's that?
Was he talking about? Was he talking about actual violence when he said that?
I didn't hear what you said. But what are we talking about?
The bloodbath thing that went around for 2 weeks.
That was repeating his exact words.
Yeah, repeating a quote is not propaganda.
It's not propaganda to say, like, right. In all fairness, Drew, is it really that far out there to think that Donald Trump, or at least his supporters, would be violent if things don't go their way? I wonder if there's any, I wonder if there's any precedent for that.
It's not real.
It happened on January 6th.
True. They are saying it themselves. People come into our live and tell us. Do you know how many people come into this live and tell us, or used to? MAGA doesn't show their faces here anymore, but they used to come into this live and tell us, oh, just wait. Like, I mean, you don't know. Like, what are you talking about?
I've been in some of those idiots' lives, and they're idiots. And guess what? They're sitting in their basement, and they're not moving a muscle.
Those are your people, Drew. Nonsense. Own it. These are the people you're defending.
These are my people.
But that's
I've
but
never
again
been associated with either side. I would never join a cult on either side.
Okay, but Drew, one
Ever.
side is a cult,
both in
and
cults, just so you guys know.
one side is a cult, and one side isn't. One side operates almost exclusively on propaganda, and the other side doesn't. Like there are times in history where you can play both sides are just as bad or just as good. This isn't one of those times. I think that's where I take issue. This is the one time that we've had in my lifetime. This is the first time in my lifetime when one side was clearly just complete propaganda. It's the only even Trump 2016 wasn't purely propaganda. Even Trump as president wasn't purely propaganda, but now they are. Now is not the time to play both sidesism. Everything they say is a lie. We didn't even get to it today, but the Fauci hearings, it was nothing but lie after lie after lie. And you want to talk about propaganda? There are people in Congress standing up there saying, well, you guys banned hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, and that was helpful for COVID. Wrong. Not true. You guys all said that it only came from the wet market. Wrong. Not true. Fauci made millions off of this. Wrong. Not true. Literally, every single conservative that spoke to Dr. Fauci lied. Every single one of them. Not one single conservative was able to use their 5 minutes and tell the truth for all 5 minutes. Not one. That's propaganda.
The Senate hearing? Did you guys watch the Senate hearing 2 days ago?
Yeah, that's
Not
what
with
I'm
Fauci.
talking. Which one?
Not with Fauci. The one with 2 days ago. It was his
Boeing CEO.
second in command or whatever. It was like 4 of them.
Who's
no, I haven't watched that
second
Senate
in
hearing, but I don't want to hear you recount it. Like this, if you're about to demonize
saying that it was $1 billion to
the
one,
scientific community, I'm done with people demonizing the scientific community. So if you're about to try to spread more propaganda and demonize the scientific community, I do not want to hear it.
Drew, how do you think they came to the number $1 billion to 1? How do you think they came to that number?
Oh, well, because they looked at they said that, most viruses, like the first COVID one, had a transmittal rate of 15%, and then over time, when it comes out, it actually gets worse and worse. Where when COVID came out, it was actually 99%. So they said the chances of that happening straight from nature would be $1 billion to 1. That it's $1 billion to 1 chances that it came from nature.
Okay, and
that it came from a lab.
Right. But Drew, Drew, hold on. Early on, did we have access to that data? Did we know?
No.
Did we know?
I
we
need
didn't
to
know
hear what they actually said, because I think Drew's not even saying it right.
That's what I'm saying. Drew, but that's what I'm saying.
I'm not.
Drew,
I am saying it right.
Science changes. No, data. Drew, data changes. Data changes. This is the problem I have with the right, specifically against the scientific community. The scientific community can only give you the best available data at the time, and more data changes things.
Exactly.
And we've now had
Jay, don't make sense.
So it's different
don't make
now.
sense, Jay. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear. Science is not. Yeah, it's not definitive. It changes. It literally is a living, breathing thing. And as you discover more,
stay on the straight line.
Well, Drew, let's
All
ask
right,
this.
we're over time, and I gotta go.
Well, let me ask you one question. Do you believe that the data shows that being vaccinated is overwhelmingly better for you than not being vaccinated?
The data shows, yes, that it's overwhelmingly better, as opposed to natural immunity. If you already got it, I don't know.
No, just not being
natural. Yeah, and I can tell you, I know that too, and it's a horrible. Natural immunity does not compare to the vaccine.
So, Drew, this is why I asked that question. You can recognize that every single Republican says the opposite. That is propaganda. When the data, no, I'm just telling you, no, because you said both sides do propaganda, and I'm telling you one side does, and it's the Republicans. Everything they say is literal propaganda. They take the minority position on everything when it comes to the scientific community. Climate change, not real, right? COVID, not real. Then when COVID was real, then the vaccine was the real problem. They take the
You remember when Kamala Harris said that she wouldn't trust the vaccine coming from Trump? And then they held off, and then Biden said that she was.
See what you're doing right
now. Does that have to do with spreading disinformation to the point that you are people died? Do you understand that? Do you understand that? You don't. You sound ridiculous. Like that's your comparison. Stay on the line of logic.
No, I'm smiling because it was stupid.
Drew, this is a bad day for you.
It was stupid?
Like, I don't know
Was
what's
it?
going on
I
here,
really
but
think that was stupid. We're talking about data.
we're
It was
unimpressed.
stupid. She shouldn't have said that she's not going to trust the
Wait, hold on.
vaccine
Well, let me explain,
if
Drew.
Trump
Well, if you, yeah,
releases
We're
it.
saying
The
you
reason-
sound stupid.
Drew, the reason I think it's stupid is we were talking about data and people getting their opinions from data. And even the thing you brought up, Kamala Harris is like, yeah, I don't trust Donald Trump. And if you know what she said, like, I'm not going to trust Trump, a vaccine from Trump. I'm going to trust the scientists. So if Trump rolls out a vaccine and says this is good and the science says no, she's obviously not going to believe Trump. But you see, you deflected. And when I had pinpointed that obviously the entire Republican Party is pushing out propaganda, and you got uncomfortable with that and had to bring up Kamala Harris. That's why I was laughing.
I was just making an example.
Propaganda that caused people to
Trump
not
says the sky is blue, you
to
guys will say,
protect
"No,
themselves with the vaccine.
It's black. Trump said the sky was blue. It must be black.
No.
It's
We
black.
say that
He's
because
lying.
that's
what you guys do.
The problem,
you yourself have admitted that he's guilty of all the crimes of which he's accused. Nobody should trust him. The lies are immense and ongoing. Nobody should trust him. That's a sign that you're a rational thinker. All the data says that you should not trust Donald Trump. You're the one in a cult. It's you. It's not anyone else. We're all thinking rationally. We're looking around and taking in the evidence and making rational decisions. You are the fence sitter. It's you, Drew. It's either everyone else or it's you.
Must be me. Must be me.
Right. Listen to more Taylor Swift.
Let's
We got to
move off
go.
at that. It's me. It's all me.
We got to
All
go.
right.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
All right. Let me check messages one more time.
Sorry, I can only take so much more.
I like it.
Because of the Fauci stuff, like, it's so true. Like, we should play this Fauci interview. Like, oh, tomorrow's Friday. Let's do it tomorrow. Because that's the point. These, like, that disinformation around COVID has caused people to not be here anymore.
Estelle sent a message, said teaching healthy touch is important. Oh, sorry. Estelle says,
I'm sorry. I was reading people's comments.
Teaching healthy touch is important. My sister wrote a kid's book called Where Hands Go. Where Hands Go. Please check it out. So guys, Google Where Hands Go. I love that. And Brian,
get it for your kids.
Brian says, I love when people who couldn't pass a 6th grade science test are the ones trying to argue vaccine science. Yeah, if you watched Republicans, that was basically what it is. Like, nothing makes Republicans more mad than science and data.
You guys, Dr. Fauci's book that has come out, it's about his 38 years, like, of public service during public health crises. Like, this man led us through the AIDS crisis, SARS, like Zika. That we have no respect for what this man does, because in fascism, there's no place for scientific experts.
I agree. And then Wasn't Me says, I have a joke about trickle-down economics, but 99% of you won't get it. And that is true. That is true. All right, everybody, that's it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. Remember, tomorrow, the final hour of the day, we open it up and we allow friendly. So if you have something that you've been wanting to talk about, please.
Poems you've written for us.
Mike, I see you in there. Sorry, dude. We had a hard cutoff at 1 and it's 1:20. I would actually love to talk to you sometime soon, and then Booter, but I can't get to those now. If you want to watch the replay, it's on YouTube. Follow us there at RTP Talks. Also, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, so when we host the debate next week, you can be there and join us with that. Did I miss anything?
Don't forget to post the 10 Commandments somewhere visible. It's the law.
If you are educating somebody, you must have 10 Commandments up behind you. That is absolutely the law. And we will see you tomorrow. If you want a Discord link, shoot me or